Hello, everyone out in the world today. I hope everyone's doing great. I am Nova, and you are reaching us through Poppies for Project. And I am still kind of in the background doing a couple things because I forgot to put the song in at the beginning. Miriah, you might have to mute it because I don't know if it actually worked because it looks like it's going on each slide. Yeah, anyways, I hope everyone's doing great. It is Wednesday, 6 o'clock Pacific time, and we're going to go over the Lion's Gate, which is interesting because I'm being smoked out. The sun is being smoky. It's actually covering like 2/3 of the country. I looked it up on a map and I was like, holy crap, like it is everywhere. So I hope that you are at least staying indoors away from the smoke, because it's not good to be inhaling that stuff. But hopefully we will not have this issue during the Lion's Gate, but I don't think it's really going to affect it too much. I think you can, it's more about your intention. Granted, sun gazing is always really great, but maybe you have to put on a mask, like in the morning to go outside. And enjoy this Lionsgate portal. I was always kind of like, even though we've talked about the Lionsgate a few times, I was always like, I really don't understand it too much. Like, I don't get it. Like, I don't really see where these astrologers are getting this information from. They kind of copycat off of each other. And so I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to try to see if I could figure this out, which I think I did. I think I did figure it out. So I'm actually kind of happy about that. Actually, not more than just kind of. I'm actually very pleased about finding information today. So that is different because I like to be different. I like to have real information. But today Matthew is camping, so he's going to be not in the podcast today. So it's Miriah and I, the two Libras. So I appreciate you being here, Miriah. Let me know. I might have to plug in my headset. I don't know. Last minute things like always kind of, I don't know why my microphone isn't working constantly as it should, like it used to, but hopefully that won't be an issue any longer. How's it going? Are you getting smoke over there?
Yeah, we're getting some, not as bad as it has been earlier in the summer when we had fires, but they're really, really close to us. But yeah, it's been a little smoky, and it's weird. These fires all seem to like ignite all at once, and it's almost kind of symbolic. I know it's also like forest fire season, but when they ignite and during this fiery lion's portal, I think it's really interesting to say the least. And then also like with the plasma coming from the sun, and so like we not only have Jupiter hanging out into the sun right next to each other, and so like Pluto has been opposite, and so it's kind of a really interesting. Like it's always a story of the stars and the planets, right? But you asked about the smoke, and it's getting a little smoky. I was able to go outside a little bit. It looks like it's clearing up. Um, but we definitely need some rain. It's got dry pretty fast.
So it's supposed to pick up like the wind and like tomorrow and clear it out because California, I think parts of California, Washington, Oregon, and Canada, or pretty much the west side, is all on fire. And it's not all of it, it's just, there actually is 2 million acres. And yesterday there was only 10% contained. So, and that is a huge fire. And I'm sure a lot of it's grass, because on the Oregon side, we have, and Washington, we have the Cascades, but on the east side of the Cascades, it normally is desert. The other side is where the rainforest is. So, so hopefully, actually, it's kind of interesting. I was reading about about forest fires and just the meaning behind it, like esoterically. And kind of putting some puzzles together with like the new anchoring of the spiral of Lemuria, and because there's some karma that was not completed in Lemuria, and I'm sure that also probably in Atlantis. And so we're having, for sure, trees that are dead, based on the spirals that were asleep in the ley lines. And so what it's doing is it's basically, and I don't even think it has to do with like Lemuria and in Atlantis. I believe what's happening is the trees today that we see that have not been chopped down or burned in a fire is based on that it is in this consciousness. Like all of the plants, all matter that we are existing in is in this consciousness right now. And this is why, species and, and of all kinds of life go extinct or disappear, because when a new epoch is being, brought to the forefront, like the root race of Brazil, some people say it's other things, but I'm going to use Brazil. It doesn't mean the actual country Brazil. It just means that there's a new seed race that's going to be happening, or a root race that is going to be coming after the Kali Yuga is over. And what happens is when spirals are brought back from like ancient times of Lemuria, there was a whole nother kind of vibration. And so what's happening is like the trees that are dying and all this fire, because as we know, this Kali Yuga, it is going to be fire. It's not just the fire inside of us, but it's a fire like outside of us. Because if you see a tree dying, and if you can get like the C note to get it to like tune to the vibration, the frequency that is coming right now, that is from Lemuria and maybe also Atlantis, then the tree might survive. But what's happening is that there's a higher frequency that's in here that is changing everything. And so this is why we see species in general disappear, come and go. Just like the spark of mind, when that was planted on the planet during Lemuria, the whole animal kingdom, not all of it, but the animal kingdom was pretty much exterminated, because so that the way the spark of human mind could actually come in and do its, start to evolve and come into consciousness. So it's not a bad thing, but it's just a part of life, and maybe eventually we'll actually get at a frequency where it just won't be that way. So hopefully, if any of that makes any sense, it's something I was kind of looking into, and I was like, holy shit, this actually makes a lot more sense than because I know that when I was in Colorado and just parts of wherever I'm at, you can see trees in the forest that are dying, and I believe that it's just spirals that are that have woken up, that have been woken up by individuals that have come here on this planet to bring back that seed that was never finished. And since we are in the photon band, and karma is like in the photon band, it makes sense to me. And so, a lot of the species aren't going to make it. And that could be humanity. You know, it depends on where we are. I mean, little parts and pockets of humanity might make it, but a new species might become out of it as a result.
So it definitely makes me have to sneeze all the time. No, there's definitely something to that. It's sad to see the pine beetles kill a lot of the pine trees all at once. And then what happens is something like the aspen, at least where I live, the aspen take over, but they grow really fast and they die really fast
Right.
so that they can be like food for the next hopefully hardwood tree species that come next. Because if it's something that's hardwood, it takes a lot longer, and so something like that will spring up, and they're a huge organism like mycelium, so they fill in the gaps. So we have a lot of aspen that come up where the pine beetle has like killed the pine trees. So you kind of see like that there's a madness to this, or there's a process to the madness, excuse me. Um, and then with like if they cut down all these huge trees on this continent, all these other tiny trees that go up fast and die, um, just as fast, like cottonwoods or something like that. They come after something huge dies off, and everything in the forest is kind of living off of that dead tree, just like mushrooms do. And so you kind of see it at a larger scale. But they did cut down a bunch of huge trees in this country,
Yeah.
and then we were left with
Well, it makes sense why like all the big trees kind of disappeared, you know, and were cut down or whatever. They probably had a way higher frequency or something that it couldn't, you know,
just
it
like
would
the
have actually
dragon.
taken all the energy that it took to have one big ass tree, you know, and so you couldn't have all these little humans, you know, running around zooming to try to figure out the consciousness. And so it had to focus on having more humans, possibly. I don't know, it's just like a theory. I don't
No,
know
yeah, and
if that's
that
really true.
that makes sense to me because some of these trees were not just something to look at, but more of an ecosystem. Like, especially if you've watched something like Avatar, I could give you like, or the gummy bears or the Wuzzles. A lot of these cartoons when we were young, it's kind of like a lot of these creatures living off of this huge tree, and it probably comes
Hmm.
from something real. And especially if those
Yeah,
trees were huge, people would, then maybe that was the time where maybe they were really elves and
they
trolls.
were really big.
um, the giants, exactly. And it makes so much more sense, especially if there was a huge flood here and all the glaciers wiping stuff out. That's why we
Right.
have the northern plains. And so what grows first? Grass. And some people just kept doing that. They didn't
Yeah.
allow the ecosystem to.
Mushrooms, grass.
Yeah, that's what should have been kind of going next and next. And so a lot of people started farming off of that and not allowing it to truly, you know, recreate an ecosystem that was more symbiotic, maybe more smaller scale, but something, and probably for a while it was before we started interfering.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's interesting, you know. Well, I do want to kind of go back to our topic because, you know, even though, because we are having these fires and it is a part of Leo season, actually, because it is fire in general. I do want to kind of just go over what we're gonna cover today, for all of the audience out there. Holla, hey everybody. So Leo is a gateway for the Syrian energy during the month of August. That is a true thing that, you know, most people are connected to and understand. So this is an annual event. It's not like you know, something that's individual, like, you know, every day kind of thing, but it goes from like the 26th, 27th to like the 8th is the peak. And so the cyclical reopening of like a channel, which the Lords of the Flame originally poured their energy into the earth, which is an esoteric astrology, um, based on the spark of mind and how humans finally got consciousness, like they actually got their mind. Before they were just kind of etheric beings in Lemuria, but then during the Toltec region, I believe, that's when they split and they became man and women. Before that they were hermaphrodites. So this is like a function where the Lion's Gate is this, wherein it provides like this annual surge of the Syrian fire and this evolution of consciousness. So right now, there's a possibility for evolution from self-centeredness, which is our lower ego, of like, to the soul-centeredness, which is the higher Leo. And we'll go into more of that. So astrologically, this is, Leo is considered to be this vessel in the zodiac for energy, and Neptune is a part of it as its ruler that makes it more spiritualized. And then also it's this, this window that is aligned to the Christ, which is actually from Earth. He's not from outside in outer space consciousness. It's actually the Christ consciousness, and accelerated from the fusion of mind and heart, are those two energy chakra systems that we have. And you can see with Leo, you have extreme sports, and in the last decade especially, we've seen that, and it's a part of like why, but it's also going back to the Roman times when they also had really extreme sports. So this is a symbol of, Leo is a symbol of a third body, which is the mental, and it's a lower aspect of our personality, and it's considered to be either the king of beast, or that higher mental aspect, which is more of the sovereign, which is considered to be the seat of the soul. So where it actually conquers the personality, because that's what the sun is, right? So just to kind of give you, we're going to go over a little bit of that, and also we're going to go over some, of course, pop culture, like what movies, show symbolism. We're going to go over some astrology. We're going to go over some goddesses, from Egypt, and I don't know, and planets, of course, and a lot of other information. So just sit tight. We're going to continue to go through this. Hopefully this won't be a 3-hour show, because this is a special. So we got to finish what we started.
So, like always, and I probably have rebirth. So I don't know. Maybe if we're not talking, if we can just mute ourselves, that might help.
Oh, it's not working. Okay, fuck, damn it. Okay, I thought it was working, but it's not.
But yeah, when I talk, could you maybe mute, and maybe that'll help? Okay. So if the audience can, at least I'm not echoing back then. Thank you for doing that. And I'll do the same for you, and maybe that'll help. And so we're going to get into the astrology just for a moment here. Of course, today's astrology, and we have the sun is in Leo still, of course, next to Jupiter. They did Kazimi last week, and they are still opposite of Pluto in Aquarius, just as the nodes have been shifting into Leo and Aquarius, which is really interesting. So we have our beautiful Venus is right at the 28 degrees of Virgo. She's about to leave Virgo and go into Libra, go into one of her home signs, zodiac signs. So, and that's kind of beautiful though too. Like she conjunct with the South Node in Virgo, and kind of rode through that last chapter of the South Node in Virgo. And so so Venus is at 28 degrees Virgo, just as the South Node is at 0 degrees Virgo, going in the opposite direction. See how that works? The nodes are going one way, and then the planets are going in an opposite direction. And then the stars go in an opposite direction, and then the houses go in an opposite direction. It's a wheel within a wheel within a wheel within a wheel within a wheel. So another big aspect that's happening today is that Chiron is slowing down, going retrograde, right? Slowing down, not going too fast into Taurus. the moon and Chiron are hanging out next to each other in Taurus. And then so opposite of Venus is Neptune in Aries. So we have a lot of oppositions. Mars is opposite of Black Lilith. So she's in Sagittarius. So there's a lot of opposing, but I think they're making a nice little like we're moving out of that basket we've had, and this basket we've been weaving, launching us into a new society, a new civilization, the cradle of society. So this will kind of really, I think, conjunct with this Leo and the lion, and the whole this particular Lionsgate specifically too. We're about to come up into eclipse season. So before we leave Leo season, we will start our eclipse season, and it's a banger. So yeah, what do you have to say about all of this? There's a lot going on, but beautiful Venus is leaving Virgo, going into Libra, and the nodes are also leaving Virgo and Pisces with all this Leo and Aquarius energy. Whew, that was a lot.
Sorry, I'm messing around with like settings and stuff like that, and I can't hear you. So hold on for just a second.
No worries. I could always see, but I know.
I don't know if I can. Anyways, I need to figure this stuff out. Like, why it's giving me such a hard time. But I was hearing what you're saying until like I hit this thing. Anyways, so I don't know. Can you hear me? Hopefully that's the problem here. Okay, cool.
I can. Yeah.
Okay, so what's interesting about what's happening right now, and I didn't get a chance to look at this today, but Venus, the placements of Venus, Mars, and Neptune are what I want to focus on, is because that is a part of this Lionsgate. They all are part of the spark of mind. Also, so is Gemini and Leo and Aquarius. So if we want to look at all those points, and we have this opposition to Venus, which Venus is considered to be the breath of us, okay? Not just love, but she's the breath. And that's opposing the Neptune position in Aries. And so what you're looking at is more of it could be lies, it could be deceit, it could be more things that are hidden, but because of that trine, it might be harder to see. Because as we know, that kite, even though it likes to fly around and do its thing, because we have two trines here making a kite, we might have some deception where it's going to be harder to see it because we just are kind of lazy. We don't really necessarily want to see it too much. We want to be in denial that the world is actually having difficulty. And so with this Mars opposing Black Moon Lilith, however, and Mars being in Gemini, we're going to have more anger issues. People are going to have more disagreements, especially with the feminine aspect. Black Moon Lilith here, she's going to be like tearing shit up. She's not happy in this position. And she is actually in Sagittarius, so that would make it where she has more. This is more of not a collective, but just foreign, okay? Foreign aspects that are far away from us, whether it be a country, a person, or yourself, as your spiritual mental mind. It might be racing and going in several different ways because she's being stretched with this fire aspect. And so this Neptunian, with being in Gemini, that's really significant because this is what assisted the spark of mine was, of course, Gemini. And Leo is also, in a way, a sense, the fiery mind, okay? Which we have, the sun, it's taken its little time, and then it's past Jupiter. So Jupiter, we know like what he likes to do. He kind of likes to come in, rape, plant seeds, and then take off. He's not always this good, lucky, guy. All right, everybody kind of makes him seem like he's this great god or whatever, but he really just kind of, doesn't really like to take responsibility. He just likes to spread shit around and then create chaos, and then says, okay, see, yeah, I'm in charge, but not really. Bye. So we're gonna have a lot of ego here with that Jupiter, and that feminine aspect in Sagittarius, which is like all the spiritual. We already passed like the ritualistic stuff in Scorpio. So now it's more about the galactic core. And actually, the Black Moon Lilith is like 2 degrees off of the galactic core right now, which we talked about Sophia last week. And so, this is, it's right there. Okay. And Mars is going to be opposing that galactic core like here any day, because it's like on the 26th degree. So that means that there's going to be a lot of action happening. It's whether or not we can respond to it properly, instead of reacting to it. But a lot of the spark of mind has yet to integrate its chill the fuck out mode, and like woosah to help you concentrate and not be pulled in by these planets that are controlling most of the world. And this is the great human error, is that we are not ourselves. We are being led by these planets. And this is the astrology, as most of you should know this, is the very first science, and it's the oldest science on the planet, and it hasn't failed before. So that's why we talk about it and bring it to the forefront, because it's really important to see that. So that's kind of what I'm seeing, because we got Aries and Virgo and Sagittarius and Gemini. We got a lot of fire, earth. We got fire, earth, more fire, and then some air in there. So it'll be interesting. We can see it happening in the planet, what's actually happening with the smoke and all the fires that are happening. Basically, the West is dying, okay? Which is not necessarily a bad thing, because the West is ego. It's really kind of, it's getting rid of the things that, maybe we weren't able to see before, and so possibly we're seeing it now. That's kind of what I'm seeing in there.
No, and that's great foresight. That's kind of, in a weird way, what I was gathering only in my weird like pop culture and my different like avenues that I grab it from. So I was thinking about The Wizard of Oz, where there's the witches, right? So the east and the west. And so the ones of the south and the north are Gwendolyn, of course, and they're the good ones. And so there's this the one dies. It gets, she like doesn't even make it too far into the movie. And then a girl named Dorothy takes her ruby slippers. But that's the Wicked Witch of the East. She dies, right? And so the Wicked Witch of the West takes over. And this is when Hollywood takes over. And this also goes into the whole movie. We've broken it down we've broken it down a couple times on this podcast, but me and Shelly also on our Mystic Mamas podcast. So it's also a trade of power between the two hemispheres. I believe has to do with a lot more than just Hollywood. And so with Sirius here,
it's way more than that. You
Sirius
got the unicorn and lion happening.
Well, Sirius is the rising sun right now in the east, right? And the sun rises up in the east and it dies in the west right now. And so during the dog days of summer right now, this time of year when Sirius is coming back from being underneath the horizon, you can start seeing it in the east horizon come up either before or as our sun does. So they're like the two opposing suns coming up right now. And what's crazy is in also now in the mix this year we have Jupiter riding with the sun over in Leo. They're like really hanging on to the west, aren't they? As Sirius is coming up and opposing it. So I think there's something to that. Hollywood obviously is dying, right? In a weird way, or how
Yeah,
it
I
used to be.
mean,
Old Hollywood is dead.
yeah, at least the old way definitely is like, it's getting resolve. And it's going to get really ugly first, but that's okay. I don't know. So we'll see what happens once we get there. Um,
Well, the
I don't
Land of
know.
Oz, Ozempic is making it ugly already. Um, and so, uh, are you done with this? Sorry, I didn't mean to get all tongue tied. Are you
Yeah,
done
go
with
ahead,
this
please. Let's
chart?
move on. Yes, I am done. I'm ready to move on and like,
Is
you know,
me. So speaking
ready to move on.
of that Lionsgate, Lionsgate is a huge Hollywood I guess entity, isn't it? It's Lionsgate, and there's always a lion. And so I partly made this image from that. And of course, we'll see in the Wizard of Oz, you see the tarot card. The tarot card is the image on the right, and that's the goddess with the lion. And of course, the eight. And it is number eight in the tarot deck. And eight is that infinity sign above her. And she's already kind of wearing a crown as she is the maiden in the goddess situation. And so it's interesting with Venus moving, she's just leaving Virgo going into Libra, and this is the journey of the maiden. But together that makes a tarot card. I brought in a Narnia image, and also that's the what's the other movie? The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And these are all by C.S.
Okay.
Lewis. I've been losing my voice for the last couple of weeks, so please forgive me. It's been a lot of talking and dry air. It just it's never coming back.
It's all
So if
good.
you sound a little off. So the land of Narnia, right? Here again is this gateway, and in that land, Aslan, he is the Lion King, and so we have these four kids, right? And they're representing the other four tarot. They're representing the princes and the princesses,
Right.
right? And so all
Like
these,
they're not are they the knights or the pages, I wonder.
well,
I think
they
that they're
start
probably
as
the
little
pages.
kids and then they become queens and kings.
Yeah. They probably start off as pages, then go to knights, and then kings and queens after that, I would imagine.
Yeah, definitely pages before they even go through the gateway into the land of Narnia
Right.
from the reality. And so you see in these other lands, lion is usually king. We have the Lion King. We all grew up with that. But you'll see all these images and these stories play out, especially with these occult authors and philosophers and scientists. C.S. Lewis, he also did Alice in Wonderland. So these are books that all have to do with the tarot deck and the hero's journey. One that is played out with the zodiac, but is also we're playing it out.
Hmm. I did add something to this, not the slide itself, but I have some
What
notes
would you
here
say?
that I wanted to bring it because I didn't know where else to put it. I didn't want to add another freaking slide. um, is that, because of this dog star here in Sirius, which, as we know, it's close to relation to Leo. And I'm going to go over that a little bit more in detail. But it's basically in the cosmic sense, it's like, separate from our solar system altogether, but it's ruled by Sirius. Okay, our sun is basically a copy of Sirius, and so that it's basically the home of, if you want to look at like masonry, we were talking about masonry last week, that it is the greater lodge, okay, Sirius is, and which, the fifth initiation, where we are admitted as man and woman, and it brings us to be a humble disciple. So when we were going over masonry last week, it doesn't mean it's evil, it doesn't mean it's bad or good or whatever. It just is, it has to do with the individual. Just like when a gun isn't bad, it's the individual that usually is using it. We're okay with, oh, let's go kill like a bunch of innocent people at war, but oh, don't shoot your neighbor, that kind of thing, which is makes no sense whatsoever. But whatever, that's just what's acceptable and what's not. So so it's like learning how to be this humble disciple in this aspect, and in this new world order that's coming, and also religion, which hopefully will be kind of siphoning away, is it's this major monthly festival that during the full moon, which is going to be coming up on the 12th, and we're going to go over that, which is an eclipse. Not this week, but we're going to touch on it just a little bit. But it's dedicated to the task of making this initial merging, or at least touching with the hierarchy of Sirius. And so each month, or each of the months of the year, will be dedicated through astronomical knowledge, whichever constellation that governs the heavens that particular month, Sirius will govern, and that's Leo. So this forces Sirius to be more linked into our future and our past than anything else. And this is when the time where humans start to free themselves, and where the word Syrian itself, it becomes affected, and where humanity will start to choose what you could call a serious path. Okay, that's why they call, are you serious, or are you, not serious? So the Syrian path is this ongoing evolutionary journey where the sun, Sirius, is actually related to our planetary, individual life as we move along collectively. And this particular, like, path of the fourth path of humanity, which is also the fourth kingdom, the four different cycles, of like a very, very ancient date, okay, between our actual, maker versus the creator, which I've talked about that too, because the maker is like the truth, and the creator is like what we decided to make up, and created like a demiurge and all this other crap. So this is where Earth is actually a sacred planet, and in esotericism, Sirius and Earth's past like relates to this individual force, that both Leo and Gemini are involved. At the time the sun was in Leo, and the sun, it was in Gemini, in that final crisis of individuation, which is actually what I was talking about with Lemuria, when we split into consciousness and we got this mind. This is why Gemini is so important in this aspect of, so you want to look at what's going on in Gemini right now. As you can see, it was Mars, and what do you have connected to that? So this is just like a half a dozen zodiacal signs that you could figure out that are actually related to Sirius. So Gemini actually is that point of entrance, though, for the cosmic energy from Sirius. Okay, so this is very important to focus that part. It is the point of entrance of the spark of Sirius coming down into the gate of Gemini, and this is actually going into Masonry. Okay, so yeah, that's all I wanted to say about that. I wanted to kind of just touch base on that.
Another movie that
Get...
comes to mind is Never Ending Story, right? Obviously, we've talked about this, where that's obviously the hero's journey. but where
Yeah.
there's sort of that lion, which the dragon, right, that he rides. And
Uh-huh.
at the beginning, he rides a beautiful white horse that he has to
And
leave
what's the
behind.
name of the horse? No, don't die! Get out of the He's like yelling at the
Taro.
fucking horse. What is the horse's name? I'm
Is
sorry.
it Artaro? Or no, wait, the horses, that's the name of the.
Achara! Yeah, something like that. I remember I was laughing. The actor could have been a little bit better, but
Well, it was, dude, for the time. Um, oh yeah, Bastion. Bastion is the main character. Taro, I believe, is the horse's name. And so
which
again,
we are still in the year of the horse, mind you.
we definitely are full speed ahead. Yeah, Ataru.
Okay. Okay.
Ataru. Uh,
I just think about him yelling that over and over again. As I never watched that movie until maybe just recently.
oh, here we
My
go.
mother
Oh,
didn't my mother didn't like it, so we never watched it.
well, there was some traumatizing moments in these movies where that's why we all remember when the horse dies in the sinking quicksand. I mean, now we know what quicksand is, and that's a real thing. Especially if you're like ever walked in mud from like the northern lakes, or sometimes even like the southwest Colorado. If it gets, if you can sink and you can never get out, like there's a lot of clay in it.
Well, all you have to do is relax usually, and instead of struggle, there are ways to get out of it from you have to relax.
And goes
They even
sideways.
show you in Harry Potter, stop fucking fighting it, just relax and like kind of roll out if you can.
Well, and what's
Like stop.
interestingly enough is this time of year, the dog days of summer, the Lions portal, right now, this Leo season, a lot of this happens every year, but Jupiter in the mix makes it even more potent. Um, plus all the other things that were going on with the basket, just like the last couple weeks. So with the flooding though, like so when you find quicksand, especially like if I've gotten stuck by the lakes, it's usually if there was a whole bunch of rain and then like it dried up really fast. And so then you have um or if there's flash floods, you have this leftover saturated clay or sand, and if you step in it, you can get you can get stuck. But what this represents is the Nile River. It floods every year, and it's like once a year it truly floods. And if you've ever watched the show Planet Earth, you've seen the most beautiful, I guess, photography, videography of that happening, and it floods everything. Everything relies on it and lives off of that nourishment, but it floods and then it kind of starts trickling away. And what's left is like that muddy, sandy clay stuff that even fish and things could get
Pot
stuck in.
brownies is what it is. Nice gooey crunch, yummy pot brownies.
Totally. It's crusty on the top, but
Yep.
yeah, you
And
sink
then
right into
gooey in the middle.
it. So with Sirius was a tale was it telling that the Nile River was going to flood soon. So nature responds to this. Humans start to track it. The animals start to sense it because they're relying on it. That one flooding.
Mhm.
And so the Nile River is directly associated with the stories and the worship or the following of Sirius, especially and I believe that our human history goes much further than just that, and that's where we
Oh
also get
yeah,
not
it's like
Egyptian,
buried
but also
in
the Dogon.
Gopli Tepe.
And I've even like watched some of this happen. If you know me at all, try not to go into too much, but under hypnosis, I saw some Star Wars and I saw some things go on over at Sirius, and I think there was like a moon or something like that was brought over here so that we could repopulate here. And so there's some connection with the Sirius, with Orion, with the moon, with Saturn of our reality here on Earth. And that it's almost, and there's lots of different theories. Obviously, we've talked about Orion's door is one of them.
Yeah.
And
For what I understand, Sirius is like not a material world. It's, more of a etheric vibrational frequency.
And that makes
that,
sense.
It's, yeah. And that's what is creating this karma here.
We brought it with
Doesn't mean that there's, yeah, well, it stems out of, many lifetimes out of Orion for sure. Faux show. Let's see here. Where am I? Here we are. Okay. I like this one. Like, interesting that you have. How did you get the little prince correlated to this? Oh, because is Sirius in there somewhere?
Well, I love The Little Prince, and if you know that story, the French tale, it's also anime. I've known it my whole life. All these stories were my favorites because, like, maybe as star kids ourselves or the gateway program children, we were drawn to these, but they're the most enticing. So the Little Prince, La Petite Prince, he was isolated on his own moon. He has his own volcanoes. And then one day this rose shows up and starts ordering him around. And he has to water this rose. And then eventually these birds come and like he's able to leave this moon. But in a weird way, it is associated with the hero's journey. He has to sit with his rose. He has to water his rose, and most of the time his rose is underneath a glass dome, just like Beauty and the Beast. So it's kind of tame. He has to tame his own beast, care for his own, and the rose represents the heart.
The heart, yep.
Yeah, and it just showed up one day, which is crazy too. And then one day, he's able to fly off of this moon, and so he to me is like the Fool card. And I apologize.
Well, yeah, he's like, he's also the Sun card, in
yes,
tarot.
that too. The Sun Child. He's also So there's a very tight correlation between the Fool card in Aries, and then when we get to Leo, how much has that soul grown on that journey? So even in the Wizard of Oz, we have Dorothy. She's the Fool card. She's got her little dog. She's got a little basket, and see what she's gonna collect. She has no idea where she's going, especially after she got plopped in a new world, and then left become right and right became left. She starts meeting.
At least she's wearing the right color. She's wearing blue.
Totally. She starts meeting her own archetypes. And so by Leo season, she meets the lion, but the lion has no courage, right? So she's putting all these things in her basket. And again, it's a correlated then with Zorro. Zorro is another, and so Princess Bride, right? He
Princess Bride,
but
one of my
he's
favorites.
also Robin Hood. He's Robin Hood. He's just wearing a disguise that people are like, really? You can't tell it's still me? All right.
You can't recognize my voice.
I'm on one side of the Mississippi here, Crick, and I'm on the other.
Dude, I went to an outdoor festival for 3 days, and I was walking with my girlfriend out in the wilderness in the butt-ass dark, couldn't see a thing, and there was somebody that was tromping around, like,
Did you see a moon?
Beside us. No, no moon. It was totally dark. And we hear somebody trotting around, and I was like, Joe? And he was like, who's that? It was my ex. I shit you not. And I sensed him. I didn't even have to hear him. Maybe I smelt him. I don't know what it was, but I knew it was him. And my
dark
girlfriend
moon.
was like, "What the fuck? How did you know it was him?" I was like, "I don't know. I just
You
did."
can also maybe see
So
someone's aura or their frequency. That is insane though. Good for like that's hard to do.
yeah, yeah, that was yeah. Anyway,
It's also
anyways,
telling
that just
people
kind of
like,
told me
don't
like
try to
I know who
sneak
I
up
am.
on Nova. Don't try to sneak up on her in the dark.
Yeah, tell them to sneak up on me. I
You
got
know,
eyes
'cause she'll be
behind my
like,
head and
really?
they can
I
see
can
through the
see
dark.
you. I can like Zorro, like prescribed. What? I just
Come on, Zoro. Like, just take the
hamburger.
mask off already and let's go home. We
So
don't need to
again,
go through the forest.
he's the romantic, Romeo in that story, but he's also the trickster and he's also
Roman.
the fool, but he's the smarter fool, right? Because he's already getting into the lion's heart. He hasn't quite earned that. And that's what King Arthur is. He is the represented usually by in the Care Bears. That's the first how I first understood it. I understood this. All these cartoons are connected. That's why I bring them up. But the Care
And
Bears, right?
remember, Care is Sophia, and she's really Sophia too. And that's why she's carrying the basket. And this
That's
dog
right.
Sirius, right?
Exactly. She went into a new land with amnesia. She has no idea where she's going, right? She doesn't
Hmm.
remember where she's been, but she's got a basket and she's got her little dog. She's like, that was me when I had my little Boston Terrier. Just clueless, like, okay, let's do this. But with King Arthur, um, the Arcturians, right? The Arcturians, the Ben Dragon bloodline. So the dragons are the frequency that used to be here on planet Earth, and they couldn't hold it no more, just like the large trees. And so when I've talked about this before, when you look at especially North America and what's growing on it, and all these petrified rocks and all these red stones, especially in the Southwest where it's already been dying, it looks like old dragons. It looks like old trees that have fallen down and that have been like they're part of the landscape. They're the hills and they're what's everything been growing off of. Some of them are old mushrooms. If you've ever been to Goblin Valley, those are mushrooms. I know they have these other explanations, but those are
You
petrified
know,
human mushrooms. Go check it out
you
in
just
Utah.
you, you just triggered
Okay.
something. Somebody literally, remember when I was on the phone with you earlier, I was like, "Oh, somebody's at the door." They told me that there is one of those holes that has no ending here. I
Like
was like,
Mel's Hole.
"What?"
Okay, so
I
we
was
have
like, "You gotta take me. You
like
gotta
Mel's
take me to this
Hole.
hole."
Oh my God. Maybe it goes
Yes.
to China. Does it go to China at least?
I don't know, but things have. They said that somebody's dog, like he threw the dog in. I can't remember why, but the
No,
dog
okay,
came
yes,
back,
you're
and it
talking about
was
Mel's
not the
Hole.
same. It
So
was
you
not
could
the
go
no,
to
but
the
it's
Y
no,
Files has a really, really good episode on AJ and
no, but there's
Hecklefish.
one here. My neighbor has been to it.
That's probably the one. I'm telling you,
Is
like
it? I thought there
it's
was another one somewhere else. I was
isn't the
remembering that
one
there was
on the
another
Y
story.
Files in Oregon or Washington? Dude, you're probably living by the
It
old
might
one.
be. I've heard of another one, but I thought
And they're
maybe it
probably
was this
old
one.
mining
I didn't know it
holes.
was here.
Some of them.
Yeah, and they were talking about a mine. They were talking about a mine. There's actually a mine, no, but this is not a mining hole.
And
You
who
can throw
throws a
shit down it and
doggy
it
in
doesn't
a
hit bottom.
bottomless pit? Don't throw a dog down there. We've all watched Pet Cemetery, and if
I
you
know
haven't,
that
go
came up
watch
too
the
with
Y
Pet
Files,
Cemetery.
Mel's Hole. Go watch Mel's Hole. It is the most wild
Yeah,
story ever. But but
yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
Alice in Wonderland, she falls into a Mel's Hole, right? And she's wearing the same
Hmm.
outfit as Dorothy.
Mm,
Guess what?
interesting.
My
It's
my
true.
grandma's
It's
my
true.
grandmother's
They're all the
name.
same.
My grandmother's name was Dorothy, and her sister's name was Alice.
There you
It was
go.
that
They read
time.
the books, obviously. They read the books. The
Oh,
parents were in the knowing how.
so the other point I wanted to make, I have my clipboard because I'm using it as my desk right now. But excuse me. But so Aquarius is an air sign, but it's out of the so we have just like the four directions, right? We have the 4 cherubim, and Leo, the lion, is one of them. Taurus, the ox, is another. Scorpio is usually represented as an eagle, sometimes something else. And the angel is Aquarius,
which is oxygen.
Yeah, totally.
So I just found out that atom, which is the A is ether, the T, the vertical aspect is fire, the horizontal is earth, that's the cross that Jesus is crucified on. The O is the ox, which is oxygen, which is the air element, and the M is the mother, which is water. Isn't that fun? I was like, oh, that's so cool. I totally see it. And so
Well,
everything is based on that.
yeah, and so what's
Everything.
interesting, it's all alchemical. So when you even look at the old alchemical illustrations, a lot of them are depicting 2 elements going together, and that's always what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So with Aquarius, it's an air sign, but it's referred to as the water bearer. So with Leo, it is a fire sign, but it is referred to as, I wrote it down. It's not the it's the shit. Which one is it? Then I'm like,
Is it an element? Is it an element, or what are you trying to?
no,
Because
yeah,
we know it's fire.
That's so funny. Of course I would do that. I'm like, and the winning answer is, I just want to tell you the
It's
wrong
written on your forehead. How did you do that? No, I'm just kidding. I don't
Probably.
know.
I fell
I
asleep
have
on
no-
it. Okay, so air. Okay, it's the water bear. It's the fire. It's the air. I just wrote it.
Well, Leo is it is the fire element, but
Well,
it
it's the
also
bear. It's the
is
bear of something. It bears one of the other elements. And shit, now I gotta do it. I apologize. Talk amongst yourselves.
I probably have it written down myself somewhere.
What's this sign?
Because I think I actually have it somewhere written in here in my notes as
I
well.
could even like do the math. So yeah, it's another. Oh,
because it's correlated to Mars, Venus, Neptune, so it probably is water.
no,
Leo is water.
No, Aquarius is
It's
water
connected
bear
to it.
already. See, that's what I'm
Right.
saying. It's already
Exactly.
Aquarius is already the water bear. It's bearing something else,
Right.
and I think it's the air.
But water is a part of
I think it bears the air, but I don't.
But I think it turns to water because Neptune is like the ruler esoterically of Leo. That is considered to be, which I'll go into it more. Well, if you want to go to the next slide so we can
well, now
get started with that. Then
it's the bear of one thing. So my whole point is,
well, it says right here it's on the next slide. It says Aquarius is the water bearer, the air sign, and he who wears the crown is the Emerald City, green heart chakra, heart of lion, eye of the tiger. Is that it?
No. Get out of here. Oh, that's word war debate. They're calling me, but so if anybody watched, thank you, by the way. I apologize about that. That would make I just want to say it wrong. So it's the heart of gold, but okay. So my point is, before we move on, is the Care Bears. There's the Care Bear cousins, right? And one of them's a lion. And there's always the pure hearts, the lion, right? The lion heart. And so with that, he's the bear, but he's hanging out with the Care Bears. So this Arcturian and even the Big Dipper, the Little Dipper, they're bearing something down here on Earth. They're bringing down another element. And I can't believe
I'm pretty sure it's water.
No, because again, it can't be. Because, like I said, it's different, and the reason you say that,
I know, but Neptune is opposing.
Aquarius is already.
I know, but it's opposing Leo.
One of the other elements. It's anything
And
but
it's
water.
as above, so
Anything but.
below. So it would be water
Anything
because
but.
as above, so below.
Not with what
It
I'm
has to
trying
be.
to say. Maybe in what you're trying to say, but what I'm saying is it's any element but. I'm pretty sure it's. I'll figure it out. So I apologize for that. It might be.
Yeah,
It
let's
might be
move
the
on.
flame barrier, but
You've been listening to Papa's
Aquarius
Field
is
Project. It's
already
7
the
o'clock.
water barrier. Is my
We're on the
point.
top of the hour, and we're talking about we're going into the
Oh, there we go.
Lions
Light
Gate
bearer.
888. Hold on, we get together each Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to go more into the symbolism of the lion in the Lion's Gate.
I apologize, and I'm losing my voice too. So it makes me sound a little bit more crazy than I am. But the lion is the light bearer, the bearer of light. And the reason it can't be water, because Aquarius is already holding down the anchor, and they are the water barrier. So lion is the light barrier and the judge. I apologize. That was driving me absolutely.
Well, yeah, it's the spark.
Yeah,
It's the spark of mind.
Yeah.
And that's why Leo is considered to be the fire of air element, because it is the spark of mind, which is light.
And that's bringing two the elements together. And sorry, you guys, I mean, see all that stuff.
Which is it's just human consciousness is what basically that's what that means.
Did I skip one? I did.
No, yeah, this is the one we're on.
Okay, so, and again, probably have like Nova talk too, because my voice it's been coming in and out. But the Game of Thrones, again, this is like through the chakras and who rules even the solar system, with the sun right now in the morning sky, Jupiter in the evening sky. Jupiter is the brightest star as the evening star. And then we have Sirius shining on the eastern horizon every morning right now. And so Earth is in between Sirius and the sun. And then Jupiter isn't far from the sun, being the brightest thing you see as the sun goes down. It's following the sun down. And so this whole eye of the tiger I kind of brought up because the lion has the heart. That's that Emerald City. The heart chakra is green. It's also connected with the crown chakra because the lion wears the crown, right? He's the king of the jungle. And if you are aware of what the jungle is, that could be the madness of your own mind. Right? And also
it has to do with the corona.
Yes.
The corona of your brain.
And so we have the hearts of a lion, and then I feel Jupiter is like a tiger. He's got the tiger stripes, right? And they're both kind of got that. I'm the new cat, and they both are these suns. They're the brightest.
Well, Jupiter can change into anything. He usually changes into like a bird or what are some of the things that he turns into?
Well, I would say like a crane, and maybe even the fact because there's stripes, that is like that camouflage in the jungle. The tiger's in the jungle and kind of like hiding, sometimes coming out, but it's got the eye of the tiger, the lion heart. And then what's also interesting, like Robin Hood always comes into that, where there's also that trickster energy, and that's the fox. The fox is similar to the dog. And so
Well, he turns into a bull, a swan, an eagle, a snake, an ant, a satyr, a cloud, and a dragon.
A satire.
Mm-hmm.
See, very
which
nice.
is the myth of Antiope, which he took form of a satyr. I knew that there was a eagle in there. I forgot there was a swan. I don't know. The cloud, that was he concealed himself in clouds to approach Io. That makes sense. Which is who? Sophia.
Well, Io is also a moon of Saturn.
She's the cow, which is the moon. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Io is the moon of Saturn, and I feel in Beetlejuice, those movies, like when they go to that in between with the sand snake, they're on Io. And we've talked about Io, especially me and Shelly again on Mystic Mama. It's like breaking down. They're always associating these same symbols. That's why I could throw them back into each other. So the line is always we've been depicting him on or her on the throne, and the Game of Thrones, I feel too, is like really taking over your own chakras, but also others being are able to take over your chakras. And so are outside influences, these outside planets. And so it's kind of being in charge, even that animalistic part of their chakras. I don't know if that
I
makes
think we're
sense.
gonna have probably a 3-hour show again.
Oh no. Well, we can move on. My voice too. I don't know if I can even talk that long. I'm almost done with my side, so that'll help. I love this little doggy in the star.
Isn't he fucking cute? I can't stand chihuahuas, but he looks cute with a star on him.
Oh yeah, and some there's a few that have been cute, but yeah, those things.
I don't like when I think their eyes are buggy and weird. They pop out and then they just bark too much, honestly.
I just don't like the little
I could
yapping.
never have a chihuahua. Like no way. I've only seen like maybe one quiet chihuahua. It was pretty amazing that it was actually quiet. So here we are. So this is I'm going to go into a little bit of the highlights of Sirius anymore because he's the dog star, and if you notice the colors red, white, and blue. If you should know what those are by now. If you remember, blue is feminine and red is actually masculine, and then the white is the galactic core. It's the pleroma. It's what is outside. It's the original God, not the fake one. So that's what you'll see on many flags is the red, white, and blue, not just the American flag. So this is where it's highlighting Gemini, where Sirius is coming in, and we're highlighting the forces of that original spark of mind, which Miriah was just talking about, which Leo has to do with. And this actually started during Lemuria. Okay, that's the third root race. And this is linked to the Lion's Gate, and this activation from the Syrian impulse, of this historical Lemurian epoch, is the cyclical opportunity to reconnect with this Syrian lion energy for spiritual acceleration. So you can actually have an opportunity to grow a lot faster if you just stop and pay attention. What are you eating? What are you listening to? All the things that we've suggested in the past. So the sun, when it was in Gemini, with the final crisis of individualization, when that took place, there were several different triangular sources that were being and forces that were being activated, and as individualization started happening. And so it happened with the lion's divine, it's orange, yellow solar plexus. When you think about the lion, you want to think about like all of the lower chakras, basically, even though the main one is the solar plexus. So, but this is when it came into being, and humanity actually arrived here. Ta-da! Here we are, humans with consciousness. Yay! And we're all like, woo, what do we do with these bodies? And we got to figure it out. And how do we survive, la la la. And maybe we didn't even need to eat. Maybe we were doing all the, and I'm pretty sure that we didn't need a lot of this stuff. Maybe it was like simple things, like things that like fell off of a tree. So anyways, the one triangle is the sun, which is considered to be in esoteric astrology. I'm going to go into esoteric astrology. Okay, this is based on like Theosophy, Alice Bailey, so it's not your normal exoteric aspects. And so Jupiter is also in there, okay, which is, she was just talking about, which is the second ray. Also, the sun and Jupiter, both second ray, and then Venus, which is the fifth ray. So only one being actually has come down and visited, from Sirius to this system, that time of individuation. And Samat Kumara is one of them. You guys will have to go out and like check it out. Look up Shambhala and all that other stuff. I'm sure you've heard of it. But I'm not going to go into all that because what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch on like Venus. And you can see I have Aphrodite here, and she's in a shell that is blue because the masculine is containing her. So, so Venus rules over the lungs. We've in Gemini. Okay, esoterically. Okay, so there's exoteric for Gemini would be Mercury, but we're all going into esoteric now. So this unites the twins of Gemini, and there's this chemical process where oxygen and carbon dioxide have this exchange of ideas and chemical compounds that that start to mirror each other, and there's this unique authentic interaction where of all relationships start to come together. And this is where Venus in a mythological marriage to Vulcan. Now Vulcan is what they believe is a planet that you can't see, which makes sense to me. That it's actually the closest to the sun, but they've never been able to see it. It's just one of those things where it's an idea. It's like it's a concept. And he is the forger. He's the one that hits like the anvil with the hammer and creates like humanity. Okay. I'm sure you guys have heard of him in the Greek mythology. I can't think of what his name is, but it's one of Hecate Herrera's sons. Okay, I can't think of his name right now. Anyways, she is the ruler of the fifth ray and provides like this monastic quality. And monastic is mana, right, or main or man, which is the human, right, is what. So Vulcan rules, and she is that ruler of that ray of man. Okay, that's what this monastic means. Even the word mason has the word man in there. Man's son. Okay, the son of man. So also Venus is the lover of Mars and Neptune. So they all have this relationship that is intimate, and that they really can relate to each other, and they link between desire and aspiration of the solar plexus, or that chakra. And there's this high spark of creation, which are usually ideas of the Ajna chakra. And so Venus, she is considered, you could look at her as the daughter of all of this. And because she was she's the daughter of Uranus, actually, who was castrated. And this desired nature in this case became birthed itself. It was like, I have to have that. What is that? I don't know what it is, but I have to have it, even though it's herpes. Anyways, I know that's like horrible, but that's the desire is like, what is it? That Sophia falling from from the galactic core, the last aeon, into matter. And she was like, oh shit, what did I do? I got herpes. So the Earth is like the sacred planet. It's considered to be subjective, and not really realized in esoteric, astrology. But Sirius and the Earth's past, they start to correlate and become relative in time of like when we became individuals, like when we split in Lemuria during the Toltec era. So Sirius was both present in Leo and Gemini. It's how it births itself into man. And so the sun was in Leo and the sun was in Gemini, and that was the final crisis of individual. And what that means is that Gemini forms that point of entry, remember, of that cosmic energy from Sirius. And then Gemini completes that process of this individualization. And then what Leo does, its involvement, is the sun was also in Gemini, which is this approach that is consummated by the founding of the hierarchy upon this earth. And so this is where you find where Messianic rituals use all these symbols and these signs, and through Gemini as the source of concept to two pillars. That's why you'll see these pillars. It has to do with that fall in Gemini. Okay, it has to do with the twins that we're all very familiar with in Masonry. You should be anyways in this one. Go ahead, Miriah. This is your next one. She's got the dog day summer, the Canis Major for the next slide. If she's still there. Hopefully she got some water. Or she passed out. Maybe she doesn't have enough air. The spark of mind. There she is. She got her air back.
Hold on. I'll be right back. I'm on a phone.
I'm ready for your. Go ahead. We're ready for your next. Oh, okay. Well, your slide's up.
Hold on.
Well, that's a new thing. Let's talk on the phone while we're having a podcast. So yeah. Anyways, this guy here, we're all
sorry about that.
familiar with.
I got a phone call all of a sudden. So can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, I used to have one of these dogs, and it's Spud McKenzie.
Spud McKenzie.
Well, he was for Bud Light, right? And I had a blow up doll of him, and I brought him everywhere. But this dog was on the commercials. So I thought it was appropriate for the dog days of summer, but maybe also the dog days of Sumar, right? Because this goes back to Babylonian times. This goes back to the ancient Egyptian times. This goes back to the Dogon, and the Dogon are the only, I want to say they probably have the most direct correlation with the Sirius B myth. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't know about it or to look for it, now, because Sirius A is so bright. And so I believe at one time, because we've talked about how the stars have binary systems, and Sirius A and B being a binary star system, supposedly even a triple star system. But I think what happened was that Sirius B was more of a prominent star, and either Sirius A came too close into contact with it. Maybe it was bigger than Sirius A, but for whatever reason now, Sirius A is the brightest one, and Sirius B is a white dwarf. So it shed off a lot of its plasma. Sirius A probably took some of it, also making the Sirius nebulas around there. And then when a star becomes a dwarf, it sheds off a lot of energy, but because it's a white dwarf, it still is holding on to some energy. It's holding on to some. So there could have been some entities, or, maybe they just shot off some of our DNA this direction, or maybe it was, somehow transported here, holographed here. Maybe there's some messenger. We don't really know, right? But maybe some of those beings.
Well, you see those orbs. Those orbs are usually messengers.
Yeah. So right now we are in those dog days of summers, and it's because of, not that it's just really, when I was a kid, I thought, and maybe my dad or something said it, see, it's super hot and all the dogs are just laying around and panting. But I always knew
Yeah.
there was something more to it as well, right? And so the Dog Days of Summer is all about the dog star Sirius. Go ahead, like, and I'm sorry, I got a phone call all of a sudden, so I'm off the phone call. We're good.
Okay. I personally never liked this dog. Sorry. I'm not dogging on anybody. I just thought he was really weird looking. I'm sure they're
Well,
really sweet.
well,
They just have this weird look to them.
and those are bull terriers. It's,
I think it had to do with honestly probably the beer commercial. Like they overdid it with that.
well, right. So Spud would be like on a skateboard. He'd be the dog living
I'm
best
cool,
life.
man.
Yeah, he'd just be
You
laying by
should
the
buy
pool,
beer. I mean,
all the
what
hot.
I didn't like, and now that I think about it, I don't like the whole idea that they used our like our intention. You know, these are again just like these other rituals that they do to like show us, like let's drown ourselves in beer so that way you don't know that this dog actually is a representative of your true self.
Right,
So
and that's why they
because
even
you
dress them
hate
up.
yourself and get bald and a beer belly, here you go.
Yeah,
And
that's why
chicks
they
are
even
not going to be coming to you, except for maybe those goggles, that are you're going to put on that are going to, some toothless, lady's going to come up and give you a nice like, blowjob. That's when you wake up in the morning going, what the fuck happened? Yeah, and that's kind of like the world right now. Like we're having these what the fuck moments, like who's in my bed? I don't know who this person is. So I feel like that whole era of beer commercials, it probably still is happening, but I don't even know. I don't watch TV, so I don't remember the last time I had watched a commercial, except for when I was at somebody's house and I was like, "Can you just turn the volume off?" Or I don't want to hear it. Anyways, but yeah, the next slide we have um, the famous movie Back to the Future.
another
And
dog.
I'm sure that everybody, maybe most of you have seen the clip of the towers are in it, the 888's in it, the dog's in it, Sirius. Um, he even says seriously when he's, pushing buttons and hitting the dial, and actually the dog's name is Einstein. And there's many correlations. There's the little town plaza that the clock is on, or in that area vicinity, there's two signs of like highways that one is the number 8 and the other one is like 16 or 17 that adds up to 8. And so there's like all of these, they're showing us like these different, ways of how to jump into, because if you look at the Back to the Future, um it goes into the future and into the past, and that's exactly what I said, that this is what Leo does, is it's looking at two angles with Gemini. It's looking forward and backward. Forward, you got two things going on at once. It's the two pillars. But of course it was used ritualistically in other ways, like 9/11 was actually in here. um, I don't remember which scene it is, but it shows you the twin towers. It has even like the clocks and everything are set up to 8/8. It's very obvious, and even the numbers, like when you add them up, they add up to 8/8.
Well, and they have to go, like you said, 88 miles per hour to get to another dimension, to another time. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is that infinity portal. So with the two
Mm-hmm.
towers, that's also the second movie in Lord of the Rings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um they they kind of came shortly after when the twin towers fell, and like I was pointing out and people were like, "Huh, what are you talking about?" I'm like, he's walking the
That
trees,
was
like,
before any of us like were really savvy to any of this shit.
I mean, I was trying to
I
point
mean,
it
there
out.
was only a few people out there that were doing it, and like that was before the internet, really. before the internet was really a thing. That was what really kind of started it all.
Well, I was
You were
always
lucky if you got it in the 90s.
into movies and Hollywood. I was in like a theater. I was doing editing in college, and so whenever I would watch, like, and I would watch movies with my theater friends because we were just always doing homework. We never slept. We were doing improv shows, and so we were like always kind of pointed it out because like that was part of our job as editors, like attention to detail. Um, and so the Twin Towers, the two towers specifically too, I guess in this movie, there's just the one tower with the clock, but the clock is broken, right? And they're always looking at the clock because, well, time's
And it's
illusion.
because of electricity, and that has to do with Yaldabaoth, who
Yes.
is the lion.
So,
He's
and
the
again, when it goes
demiurge.
back to the future, that's also like that Uno card, right? A reverse. So going back to the future, even the title page, how they even wrote it, you're reading it left to right, but then there's an arrow. So you're going back to the future. It's so zigzag, and if you know Uno card, that's kind of like the same thing. Like you, and again, we've talked about the Plutonian, this Pluto mist, right? Where supposedly like everything has happened already, and so time is our opportunity to slow it down.
Oh my God. I
Saturn
just saw it
slows it down.
too. This
What?
is the triangle. This is the trilogy.
Yes, yes.
I
It's a
just literally just talked about it. It's the sun, one triangle, which is the second ray, Jupiter, um, which is the lightning, and then you have Venus, which is I think, well, I'm seeing it, it's in Gemini. Venus would be
I'm talking about the planets right now.
I'm sorry?
Are you talking about the planet alignment right now, or just that's the
No, I'm just talking about like this, the picture with like the electricity, the fire, and then the air would be the movement of the car,
well, and
like
so we have the
moving
dog.
through
Yeah,
space
the
and
dog
time.
car. They first put Einstein, the dog, into the DeLorean first. So he's the first dog.
Right.
They put like a watch on him, right, to make sure that it
Yep.
connects. So Orion in the sky, he goes up and then he goes down. And so in the spring, he goes down and he's led by his two dogs. He has the chariots in front of him. You always send the dog first, right?
Well,
so
it's interesting because what's interesting is that, to me, it's also like going back to that, there was only one being from Sirius, right? That visited
it's Al
the
Gore
time
because
of
he's in Sirius.
individualization.
Al Gore, you guys. It's
But it's this
algorithm,
guy.
and he's in
But
Sirius. He's so
it's
so sorry, and it's probably
what
true.
the fuck is what the hell is what the hell is his name? Oh my God.
Marty, are you talking about this movie?
McFly. It's
Marty
McFly.
Marty
McFly is the
McFly.
first guy. He's the
Well,
first one
okay,
that
he's
visited us
Marty
from
McFly. He's
Sirius.
Mercury. He's Mercury. Marty McFly. I'm Miriah Myers.
Yeah,
I'm Mercury.
it makes sense.
Yeah, Marty McFly.
Well, he goes back and forth in between the time, and he's also it means air. It totally makes sense. That's the air
Yeah, he
element that I
has
was missing.
like Nikes. He's got the swoosh. So, and this is all associated with Father Time Saturn.
Well, yeah.
But it's also
Nike's Mercury.
This type of year is and that's going to be pretty soon in the next slides, but this time of year is also associated with Thoth. And Thoth is that magic. He's also Saturn. He's also the moon. So with this movie too, there's 3 of them. There's a trilogy. They go back in
exactly.
time, and they
That's
go,
what I was saying. Is like that's why they were saying they go back. I just said that.
Yeah.
I just said that. Yeah.
Sorry. So with the even with tarot, you can look at that already as like the journey. There's always like an up, and then there's like a crisis, and then you got to go like fix it, and then it's bliss. But this movie's I'm so glad that you brought this up, because at 88, This is that portal that's
It's
happening.
like
So
one of the most, prolific movies that really stands out for the Dog Star. You can see the Dog Star in Olympic Games. You can see it in movies. You'll see
Olympic
dogs all
Games
the
with the Game of
time.
Thrones.
You'll see dog statues. You'll see them, in many different forms. But this is one of the ones that's the most,
And they
popular
predicted that
one.
there would be hummingbirds. And so
Right.
skateboards came to be. So do they predict them or do they just know they were going to come to be? So this movie,
Yeah, there's a long thing that goes into that.
so the
There's a
88,
lot of like we should actually just do it. We should just actually go into the series and break it down for like a
well,
month.
we need to get to the funicular underneath the Sphinx, which is a lion and Virgo head, supposedly, I think, or at least the chariot, right? There's something
I'm starting to think that it's not now. There was
there's so
something
many
else that I
different
heard the other
things.
day, and I don't think
It
actually
has
it's
to do with
Virgo.
this portal. I swear to God, it has to do with this
There was
portal.
something else that I
Lines
can't
up
remember
with
where I
Sirius.
heard it, and I was like, oh shit,
And
it
then you
isn't
have the two
Virgo. I don't think it
chariots,
is.
right, to launch you off back to Orion. But so this
There
88,
was something else. I wish I would have wrote it down because there was a
right?
whole
Doesn't
nother
that
idea
drive you
about the
nuts?
Sphinx.
You saw me flip out because
Fuck.
I couldn't find my one stupid note that
Oh, it
was
was something I heard, like, I don't know. And it's so hard to keep information in my brain. I'm just like, because I'm going through so much of it.
well, we don't have
But
the one
yeah,
cells no more. So okay, so the 88. This is important. So we're at August 5th. We're at 8-5. So 8-8 Lionsgate matters. Even though like how the Earth and Sirius and the Sun and now Jupiter have been lining up. 8-8. So that's August 8th. That's on Saturday. That's when the numerology, and this is supposedly the climax of this portal. That's why we're having this special right now. So it started, this portal started opening up July 26th. They turned off the CERN portal not that long ago. There's a portal probably under Iran. And in the book I've been reading, The Secret History of the Book, Iran is associated with the Sophia story.
yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I can
And so
see
with the
that
Sybil
because that's
80,
where they're like one of the original things. I guess they haven't, we haven't beat them. Like I thought that there was an agreement and now there isn't an agreement. I haven't been following, but I saw something. I was like, ha ha.
what does
I
that
started
mean?
pointing my finger.
Agreement, the elites are kind of like they don't care no more. They're kind of off at playing their own croquet
Which
games.
is great because now Flock is starting to like also fall to the wayside. So our intention's it's working, everybody. Keep up with your intention.
Keep
Okay? Like
keep
banish,
watering your
banish,
hearts.
banish.
Pay attention to
Especially
your
during this
hearts.
time. You have 3 more days. Like really focus on what you want to see. Let's go ahead and continue to move on because I don't want to be here for 3 hours.
No,
I love this topic. Let's get into it another time though.
exactly. The
Um,
lion, the witch, and the unicorn, or sorry, the lion and the unicorn are part of the C.S. Lewis as well. And it's sorry, I didn't mean
It's
to.
in a lot of different things actually, and it has to do with masonry, and it's the secret initiation, and the going up of the human being to the portal of being admitted into the hierarchy, and which we kind of don't want to be in the hierarchy, and that's part of the issue. But once you're initiated, you get to be free. That's, to me, I like that word. It just means you're higher than the archons. When you look at the word hierarchy, it has the word archon in it, and higher in there, which is air. So when the air, that's why the air used to be like the royal that would go to the air, right? Not just the air in the sky, but the air and the sun, which is Leo. So this is that raising, of which masonry holds the key. And so we're all masons. We all figured that out, and it's doesn't mean we're evil or bad. It just means we are creating as we go along, and we're starting to see like the matrix fall apart with like these crazy elitists that are like on the darker side of masonry. So this deals with the emergence of that consciousness and the initiative of the white and one pointed, of the defeat of the king of the beast, because that's what she was talking about earlier, right? It was this beast. the Beauty and the Beast. And so this is where we start to, as a group, start to really come together. And that's what these two here are considered, like these world consciousness of selflessness, where we start to become illuminated, and over like our self-consciousness, and we start to become our truth, and we render our truth. We start to, like, like you render when you take like AI. It would, like, when they would do like a movie out of anime, or whatever, the AI, it would take forever to render. Well, that's starting to speed up that rendering. So this ancient myth of like the king of beasts, which is Leo, he's being blinded and also killed. And then what happens is his ear, or not his ear, but his eye. I was saying piercing and ear at the same, and eye at the same time. It really is the same word when you think about it. And the heart with the long horn of the unicorn. Okay, which is, the spiral. It's your third eye. It's your moving upward and outward away from, the mental mind that is controlling you, the spark of mind. And so the lion and the unicorn are held to, they're also supporters of like the royal coat of arms of the United Kingdom, which we're seeing is what, starting to dissolve. Like, it started off with Diana, and then her son was like, fuck this, I'm out of here, I'm gonna marry. And also Diana, she was not really a royal, and so that right there shook up everything. And then one of her sons also married outside of the DNA bloodline, which they have this in their DNA. They've been practicing it over and over and over again. And this is why it's stuck there. So this has to do with England, the lion, and Scotland, which is the unicorn. And this goes back all the way to King James the First in 1603. And also it's a rendition of like George Orwell. He did like an essay in 1941 of The Lion and the Unicorn, which has to do with socialism in English, genius, right, which is genie. And he starts to analyze the word English, right? English, angels, the national character of World War II. And World War II is literally the cyclical reenactment of the Mahabharata, or the Bhagavad Gita, excuse me. Is it no, the Baha, is it the Baha or Baha? Mahabharata. I can't remember. I'm so sorry. It's I think it might be the Mahabharata, where the brothers, the family line start to fight each other. And so we're having that same thing happen.
One's about sutras and one is about the story.
It's the one that where Krishna is like, you gotta fight, because even though it's your brother and your cousin, you have to fight because it's the principle, and that we have to change. And and that death is not real, that this is the illusion. So you just got to make a choice and get rid of the evil. It doesn't matter about any of it. So anyways, moving along.
The Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita. For those that are interested. And all these stories, when you, and only say this one thing, you compare them, it is again the Krishna is Christ. It's another story of the Christos. And Leo,
but Buddha is not Christ. He's actually outside of it. He is from the moon chain. He is not from Earth. There's a difference, and I'll go into that a little bit later.
Well, Jesus isn't. So
Christ.
So I guess Jesus.
Well, Christ and Jesus are two different things,
Jesus,
right? So there's the
Krishna.
Christos.
Yeah, sorry. Krishna and Jesus have more of a similar story. But the story with the lion part, though, and like Christ and the Leo and the lion heart, it's because that's when you get the Christos going in your heart. I was telling my dad this because my dad's getting old and he was actually listening. He's a Virgo. So when you have love in your heart and you water your heart like the prince did on his moon, right? So what the moon is, he's going into his emotions and he's sitting with his heart, that rose, but he's watering it. He has to take it off that glass thing. He can't just keep it in a dome and protect it. He has to take it off. He has to water it. He has to talk to it. But it's that moon, while he's alone, you have to sit in that dark space alone. And right now we're moving nodes. We just had this crown. We have this Leo energy. We are launching into something new, but we have to come from the heart authentically right now. Authentically. We can't have the fake. So it's watering that your heart. So when your blood pumps in your heart, you're actually getting the crystallized part of the blood that you need. That is the vitality you need. You need to not just have a good amount of blood, but quality of blood. And that's what the Christos in that blood is, that crystalline part of your blood. So when you focus on your emotions and your heart and you live authentically through your Leo heart, you're going to have so much Christos boiling through your blood. And that's part of the ascension. And that's why the little prince, that's why all these little stories matter. And that's why the children that were already star seeds were given these cartoons and we paid attention. The gate program either recruited you or tried to destroy you. And some of us are still here with our heart beating, with love in it. And now we have podcasts telling you all about it. You know, this is what that is. Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, thankful for digital libraries. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to, get all the information that I have because I don't have a big enough house to shove all the books into it. But I would love to have, a library that was that big. It would be amazing. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. You got the Dogon and the Sirius Dog Star, which we talked about.
Yeah, so this is and if you've had a truck or a car with Sirius XM radio, it is called it for the reason that one of the symbols is a dog with a star, a 5-pointed star is the eye. And that's really what the star is in Sirius. I'm sorry, the Canis Major and Canis Minor, the dog constellations that Orion riding on his chariot in the sky. And so this time of year, Orion has gone underneath the horizon in the spring, and one of the first major stars to pop up is Sirius in the east horizon, and it shows up looking like another star. And if we've never, seen what ancient human history, what they saw, maybe we didn't have the sun that we have in our sky right now. Maybe that was the sun. Especially if you came here all the way from Sirius, from another planetary system. But it is one of the closest star systems to us here on planet Earth. So the Dogon, I've had in my hypnosis, I knew about the Dogon before I started learning about them. But they're a West African tribe, and they knew all about Sirius B before any other astrologers in our modern human history, I guess, knew. And Sirius B is, until recently with telescopes, the naked eye, you couldn't see it because it's one dimmed by Sirius A, and its life force has been diminished down to a white dwarf. So they still celebrate and they still worship. And I guess, like they honor Sirius, especially this time of year, just like the Egyptians do. So the dog days of summer is also their new year because this is when their sun would re-rise in the east this time. And that's when our sun rises in the east. Right? So during this time of year, we have Sirius rising usually right before the sun in the east. And so there's two suns right there. We do have two suns. Maybe there's some more. And so it's very, very symbolic to our ancient human history. And they have some of the oldest tribes. And they their stuff is like spot on with with all this stuff. Even Series B is known as Potolo. Series A is Sigitolo. So one is hidden, one is bright. And just sort of like the binary system that rotates our Earth. And we're always looking for our sun's sister, but look at, we're in a magnetic electromagnetic 3D reality, probably with a little help from our Sirius friends. But we have the sun and the moon, and they're kind of rotating kind of in a weird magnetic way. And one represents the inner emotion, one represents the solar plexus, and yet one is, represents the dark, one represents the light. And again, that's just one system that is going
Well, I
on.
want to point out here, which you have in the notes, that it says that represented to the universe, this male and female, right? You were just talking about that red and blue. Everything comes from that's what the atom is red and blue, and then you have the white in the back, and that's what generated the Dogon. And with these star
Those are the
constellations,
colors.
you'll find the Pleiades in the north and Orion in the south, which you just said, but it also says that everything started with a basket or a container that carried life. And so we just went over this last week, the basket, and how that spark of life, is being carried, and that's what we're seeing, like in the Sumerian, right, text. That's what she was talking about, the summer days, that our DNA, was carried in a basket, whether it be like, because when you really think about it, it's one big womb. Sirius in a way is a womb, and it births the star systems from Orion's nebula coming out of that, and then all this plasma comes out, and and we ends up having like this these this harvest season at the end, where you start to get the fruits of like your labor, births come in. And then I'm excited though, because I think that what's coming, a lot of this is, you're not going to see this anymore. Like there's going to be new ways the constellations will be changing, like new constellations, or not constellations, but there are new constellations that have arrived in the north that most people do not even know what to do with yet, and it's a new system. So I'm super excited to get into that. I actually got to get that book. Now that I think about it, I keep on forgetting about it. But this is one thing that we have to kind of look forward to, is this. Eventually, we will not be birthing things. It will just arrive.
Well, and again,
We
that's
won't need a basket anymore.
the basket and the 8-8 weaves, right? And so
Well, you could also look at it as like a sundial, or not a sundial, but a sand dial. What do you call it? The sand thing that you flip up inside. Why am I not thinking of it? Where the sand drips through one side. That's this figure 8.
Oh, you're talking about an hourglass, and once again,
An hourglass. Thank you.
Yeah, that's
I don't know
huge.
why I was.
Wizard of Oz symbolism, even with the goddess and with the tarot.
Well, there's that sand too that we're going back to, that sand, which is this time, and it starts to, pretty soon it's going to slow down, and become so soft and gooey that you're not like that middle of the brownie, that you're just going to be able to fall through. You're not going to drown. You're going to be able to come out the other side, where there is nothing but bliss, because that is our original state. And that's what this whole Lionsgate is about, is to go back into that wonder, or that aspect of being, where you culturally, we have seen Leo being a beast, honestly, of the spark of mind. And either humans are going to stop being beasts, or they're going to be annihilated. And that's just the truth. They're not going to exist anymore, and so another species will take over.
Absolutely.
That's just the
So
truth of the matter.
that basket that we just all got out of collectively, where all those
Well,
outer
it's still
planets.
there, actually. When you look at it, there's a basket and a kite.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
still there.
Exactly.
It hasn't moved.
Something new. And so even with these Dogon tribes, they had to retreat and go live by the Nile River, where they relied on the Nile River, and they relied on this star Sirius to let them know when it was about to come so they could prepare, because it's going to be a huge flood. A flood could be a blessing and a horror, right? If you're not prepared for it, because they want to be able to get the water, make sure that they utilize it, because it only happened once. And so around the year 1000 anyway, which is also this interesting time of when King Arthur, right, they were just talking about, was here too, where these star seeds were coming down to earth and bringing with them the knowledge and the DNA. And the Nile River to me is the spine as well. And then so happy Egyptian New Year, everybody, which means in ancient Egyptian time, this is when their new year started, because again of that flooding of the Nile and the return of their star Sirius. Osiris is Orion. And so, like I said, during the winter and the spring, you start seeing Orion riding his chariot with the dog star, his two dogs, the chariot. He's on it, sitting on his throne. He starts going down, down, down in the night sky. So now when you go outside, you haven't been able to see Orion in the night sky. It's summertime stars, because the stars move. And so when Sirius starts to pop up in the morning, you know that Orion's slowly going to start popping back up in the night sky. It's going to take some time, because again, this is, so he's riding up there in the daytime, but we're just able to see Sirius, his mate, his seeing eye in that chariot pop up first. So this is when they knew that their king was resurrecting. This is a resurrection story. And ironically, some of his stories have to do with like the tip of his dick exploding too, right? When he lost that star.
Well, it got lost. Yeah, wherever that thing went.
Got lost, yeah. And so Isis, the feminine, went and gathered his body parts and brought it up to me. That is very Venus, and that's what it's Sophid, right? Which is also associated with Set. So Set and Osiris were brothers. So they worked together to resurrect their king, Osiris. And so all that has to happen is the world has
Even though Set killed him.
and then he yes, this time of year, the king
He's
is
like, whoopsies. I
and
set the sun. Oh.
yeah. So isn't that's why these stories matter, and this is where it comes from, that Sirius, he rides his chariot down and then his chariot starts to come back up. Starting with the dog star, his mighty, mighty dog. So I think it's just like a beautiful story of resurrection. And so it's not only in the Christian stories, it's throughout all of them. And whether or not that they are associated only with Osiris and Orion. So Osiris is the Egyptian, I guess, representation of Osiris down here, just like in Hinduism, where Krishna is a representation, right, of the higher Brahmi, but then also of Vishnu.
Well, I want to bring up too that I think it's just a good idea because we worship many gods, and we need to stop doing that. Okay, we have many different cults out there, and cults is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just culture. So we need to start looking at the stars, because that is our original state, and this is why tropical astrology is so important. When you look at Vedic, you're looking at Earth astrology. You're not looking at the stellar cult. The stellar gateway was what the Egyptians used. And so I think that's really important. Like, when you use like their pyramid system, that they would point it towards these different star systems like Osiris and Sirius and blah blah blah. We won't go into the whole thing, but we need to go back to that and start looking up at the stars and the stories of those, and because that is what's going to start changing, instead of these solar cults of like worshiping the sun or the moon. Like, stop going out and doing moon ceremonies. That's not a good idea. Okay. And the sun, just don't even worship the sun. Just like sit with it, and let it change your endocrine system. Sit with it during the rising of the day, so that way you can change your system and work on your body and your mind and your mental health. So let's go continue to the next slide. You've been listening to Poppy's Field Project. It is almost 8 o'clock. I am Nova, and I'm with Miriah, and we are talking about 8/8 Lionsgate and the stuff that you're not going to hear normally through the astrologers, that are just like, oh, just go out and meditate and eat this, and like, oh, everything's going to be great. We're going to have a galactic this and that. And yeah, well, no, we're going to go into a little bit more depth than that, so that way you can really know the story behind what the Lionsgate was, because I didn't know what the fuck it was. And I was like, these people are crazy.
We are the
So,
school of thought. We are taking the teachings of our ancestors. And that's why I pointed out this is the festival of Thoth. So ancient Egyptian this would be their new year. Right now with their calendar, you're gonna love it. Their new year is September 11th or September 12th.
no, well,
But
there you go.
and
Well,
that's
there's a significance to that I'm going to go into that on September
political
11th.
calendar.
I got a whole thing that I'm going to do on
The
a special.
astrological new year, though, is August 8th, which is 8/8 Lionsgate. So with true astronomy and astrology,
What I don't really get is, why did they do 888? Some people were doing 888, and it's not 888. Okay, it's 8810. All right. I was like, wait a minute, there's no 888, people. Like, what are you doing?
unless they add 6 and 2 together at the end.
Yeah, and then they didn't add the 2 at the
Well,
beginning, which makes no
that's the thing
fucking
with
sense.
numerology and math and numbers. You can use
Yeah,
them.
people were fucking up on that. I was just like, come on, astrologers, knock that off. Like, do your math. Like, it's pretty simple. It's actually 1 and 0, which is actually 1. It's the 0 is an illusion. So the next thing that I want to get into is the Lords of the Flame, which I had talked about, which are these, the ones that came down and gave the spark of man to human, the light that Miriah was talking about, that comes from Aquarius. And so this it explicitly connects to the lions of humanity in the period of individualization, right, which I talked about. And um, it, Philip Lindsay writes that several major triangles of force were this activation, right, this divine tawny orange flame that humanity, brought upon this planet. So in theosophical Baileyite cosmology, Bailey is Alice Bailey. She is the one who brings into esoteric, which is more advanced than exoteric, because it's more about your spiritual. Like, how do you stop being so fucking mentally insane on this planet? So the Lords of the Flame are the Agni Shavata, actually, Pitris, which is these beings that are far beyond advanced, that are from Sirius and Venus. And they are connected to the Lion's Gate by the heliac rising of Sirius, which is the sun is in Leo, the lion, then the lions are the Syrian beings that energy is accessed during this gate. Okay, so it's literally this Sirius higher consciousness. And so that self-awareness, that spark of human arrival when we first got here, it's we want to look at the mythology of like humanity, that this was actually, this fire was stolen by, I'm not going to say the gods, because the gods are the archons. So I'm going to say the ancestors, which you'll find in ancient Egypt, like Thoth or Sachet, just for a couple ones that are the mental mind. Yes. So, just the masculine and feminine aspect of the mental mind. So they stole this fire, basically the dragon fire, the solar dragons, that the reptilians came down and were like, we're gonna fucking take this information and screw up everything. And this is where the Lords of the Flame, the Agnishavata, they gave the fire to Manas, which is the mind, to humanity, right? To man, Manas. And so that connection of where we start to embody the will and the fiery mind that Leo represents. So when you think of Leo, it's literally, like I said, this fiery air sign. Even though it's a fire sign, but it's literally this mental mind because it's where it comes from. So Sirius is that higher correspondent that Leo's monastic qualities, the source of cosmic manas, where the flame originates from Sirius. Let's go ahead and continue. And this is that annual return that we already talked about. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. And this here is, when you were saying I had an epiphany, I was like, I do too. Like literally right after that. I remembered this picture that I saw years ago, and I've been trying to fucking find it. And it's literally a guy with a lion's head in like a tomb or something like that, which is the womb, right? The tom, which is the mother, the mota, the tomato. I know I'm just going to throw a tomato in there, but it's not really a tomato, but you could look at a tomato as that way. Anyways, so, and he's standing over this woman who's asleep. And I was like, oh my God, that's fucking Sophia. And this is the demiurge that is watching her, that is standing over her. And so this is Yaldabaoth. He is the demiurge. And we've talked about the demiurge just a little bit here and there. But I'm going to go into a little bit more, in a lot of our practices here is also esoteric, because I think it's time for us to start advancing to the next stage, because we've gone through a lot of esoteric or exoteric and some esoteric, but it's time to start moving forward even further into the esoteric. So this lion-headed serpent, Yaldabaoth, he in the Nag Hammadi library, the Apocryphon of John, where Yaldabaoth is described as a lion-faced serpent, and he has eyes that are flashing like lightning. That's why I brought up Jupiter. I was like, oh shit, that's Jupiter. So the lion head, it represents this fiery will of arrogance. This is that beast and that irrational passion that Sophia created, this desire to go, what is that? What's that shiny thing? That I don't know what it is. And so that's when she was like, she left the pleroma or the galactic core, where all things are just known and there is no mistakes or no lessons or anything, because it's all just perfect. But she was like, I don't know what that is. And so this is why we're having these irrational passions, is because of this action of Sophia in Gnosticism. So this is that beast of personality and this unchecked higher wisdom, because the tail here represents the serpent, which is Sophia. She's the one who has the wisdom, and he's the one who has the will. Okay, and that's why you have the two together. And if you see, I put the trident here because who is that? That's Neptune. And I was talking about Neptune. We're going to go into that a little bit more. But then he's also holding a shell with the red and white, which is the man, the spark of man, which is, masculine, feminine. Go ahead.
As you're saying that, it just dawned on me how important this third situation called Sirius C, how serious it is. And because it's hidden to us, the naked eye, the Dogon we're aware of it. And so it is referred to as the son of the women, the sorghum star, the Emma Yatolo. So it is a star accompanied by a satellite star called Nyan Tolo. But so what that means is like Sirius A and Sirius B are rotating each other, right? And even that could refer to how our bodies are put together.
You talk about the yin and yang?
The yin and the yang, right? But that Sirius C is that third energy.
Well, the Sirius C could be the representative as the pleroma, the galactic core, even though it's not the galactic core, because that's the third trilogy. That is the true maker.
Yes.
Because you have the son, the father, and the mother, right?
Yeah, to where if something's
I can see
orbiting
that.
around each other, there needs to almost be a point of where it comes from or what they're orbiting around, or an observer, something, right? Either on the inside or the outside. And I think that's where that Sirius C, out of that trilogy of the Sirius star system, might come in. Just that exact energy you're talking about. It's just
It's interesting. We should definitely dig into that. That'd be interesting to find out. But it sounds like it could be an entanglement, because I don't know if I don't think that the maker is observing, because the maker would not do this. Just to let you know, the maker in the Bible is not the maker. It's the creator God. It's the demiurge.
Right.
Okay.
True. I should say maker, because the creator is the demiurge.
There's
always that third.
Well, if you look at the word make and mason, that is the maker. It's not a creator. The creator is the sea.
My mistake.
Okay.
Yeah.
The ocean, the sea, which is the cup, the ocean of like the unknown, what is out there. It's literally completely the difference, because if you go seizure, creator, it has the same fucking letters to it.
Oh, totally.
When you look at it,
it does. And that brought me to even a point I even had. So when you're saying that the sea and also a seed, so the word that is referred to as Sirius B Potolo actually means the phoneo seed. It's a super tiny, heavy
phoneo seed. Oh yeah, I think I saw that in your notes.
Phoneo seed, and it's a grain used by ancient. It's an ancient grain. You have to grind it up, but it's packed with nutrients, and so it's actually named after that. Just like Sirius B is a white dwarf, all of its energy has been compounded. Where Sirius A is plasmatic and can outshine and shine bright, and here Sirius B is named after a seed. And so when you were saying the sea, check it out. As a pirate, you must not confuse the letter C and the letter S, because we like the sea, SEA, right? We like the sea, but that's where life is created. A seed is a compound where life is created. And then also Sirius C is this compound white dwarf.
Sorry.
Where our life is probably is kind of
sorry.
from. So there must be something to all of that trident and to the star system, because it is a triple star system that is close to us and is part of all of our stories. Every single one of them has Orion in it, or Triad. The trilogy, the trident, everything. So the matrix of creation is what this phoneo seed and Sirius B is named after. It's also invisible to the human eye, and yet it might be the invisible eye. But yeah,
the brown eye.
So really
only the outsider can see the brown eye.
Ew, some of us
okay, we can talk about the third eye. We don't have to talk about the third eye.
What we should do though is it's 9:10. That's my birthday. Um, we should dig into the fonio seed and maybe eat some of this stuff. You have to grind it up. It's really compact, but it's got a lot of nutrients.
Yeah, seeds are better for you than actual grains, just to let you know. And we should get out of that, the whole grain system. We need to dump that. When everyone, is out there in the world right now, like wondering how the fuck we get out of this, stop eating their shit grain that is produced at mass scale, making us sick.
Yeah, go find
Seeds
some
are life. Seeds are I have been eating so much sunflower seeds like I've never ate before
Me
ever since
too.
since I like that's interesting because we
I
just had these solar
continue on.
flares and it is and it was basically like when this started happening when maybe it was just right before it the Lionsgate. So yeah, like I was like, is it okay to eat this much? It has selenium in it, which is great with you. So you can have eat, I do Lugol's iodine with it. So and you can do a little bit more than what they say with iodine. Don't be afraid of it. But anyways, I want to go back to like the serpent body and like how this entanglement of matter and chaos is the cyclical trap that we're getting into. Like eating, instead of eating wheat, we should be eating seeds. And because this can reincarnate you. The reason why is it changes your blood, it changes the oxygen in your body, it changes your hormones, and it makes our spark lower in sugar and drained and not able to like put our physical spark into the world. And so his role is to actually he's the blind god because he doesn't really know that anything outside of him exists. He thinks he is the god, and he is literally god. He's not the maker. Okay. And so he makes a material universe as a prison that oversees the seven archons, which are the planets, to keep humanity ignorant of their true divine origin. And so in theosophy, if you combine the lions, Lord of the Flame, which are benevolent, and the Syrian beings who are gifted the mind to liberate us all or free us all, they are the divine rebels, okay, the Lords of the Flame that are associated with lion, with this Leo portal that we're talking about. And they're acting under the law of love and also authenticity. I would say more authenticity than love. And in Gnosticism, the lion, this malevolent, ignorant character who's trapped in the spirit matter, this rebel, that's fake, and creating all of this, desire and pushing. Well, she's creating this the desire. He's pushing the will of literally the law of ignorance. And so the conflict, that some esoterics suggest that these two sides of the same coin, that the fire of mind, which is Leo, can either be, a liberating. I think it's more liberating because if we look at the word liberal, we know that it is a freed slave. Okay, you're not really necessarily free. You're a freed slave. So it's more of a, that freed slave where you could have this possibility like, oh well, you still have to follow these rules, you're not really free yet in the material world. And then you have like the liberating or the well, I'm going to go back to that, the which is that I would say more like the free aspect would be the Christ, which is the earth, right? It's this earth. Also, Gaia is the earth, who is Sophia. She moved into the earth to help us. So that, this consuming fire or ego, which is the Yaldabaoth solar system, will detach itself from the spirit, which is your mental mind. So the lion-headed serpent is the archetypal image of Gnostic demiurge, Yaldabaoth. So going back to that beast, This is why Leo is so central. And this is why it's so central with the sun. It makes so much sense now that I put these two together. I was like, holy shit. This is what it is. This is it. This is the truth. Like, it is the Lords of the Flame that came down and sparked Leo's mind and created Yaldabaoth in the process of this. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, my jaw dropped when I saw this. And because if you haven't studied Gnosticism, you should start getting on it, because it's gonna, it's literally just like, whoa, this is crazy. And then also esoteric astrology, which, Alice Bailey, which is, ancient books and stuff like that from like ancient seers, like of like Hinduism and Vedic and blah blah blah. Anyways, so this king of beasts that is ruling our personality in the material world is demanding worship over us. That worship, right? The lords of karma, the turds of karma, I like to call them, or the lords of the host, which are the lords. They're the ones that are born of a boat, a ship, that they think that they're more superior than us. That hierarchy. And this is where that they keep the souls, right? The serpent's coil of the cyclical existence. So that spiritual task for the Lion's Gate specifically is to distinguish between the true lion, right? The Christ Syrian fire within your heart, and the false lion, which is Yaldabaoth, the egoic, that is your head and your thoughts. And so I was like, wow, this totally blew my mind. And I was so happy to find it, because it made sense that now we can look at the stars and look at it in a completely different aspect that is, starting to advance. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. And this is what I mean. We have a video in the next, we have a video.
No mames, hijo de tu puta. No mames, perro. Viene otra. Tiro de esquina. ¡Santo sepulcro! Dale. No mames. Dale. Servicio dentro del área primero. ¡Sácala! Se acabó la bomba de
Okay, so this is the beast, and this is what watching sports does to people. I know we've all seen it somewhere where they have flipped out like this, and you're just like, whoa, what is going on? How is this person reacting this way? And well, this is the polarity of like sports stadiums, coliseums, right? We went over the coliseums last week, and I feel for this person. I feel for all human beings. Like, this person is possessed by not the Holy Spirit, but a system that is creating, the Baal system, 100%. And this is the World Cup. Okay. This is one of the rituals that, is from not the Roman times, but basically it is the Roman times. And, this is coming from the solar plexus, and this is Leo, 100%. And, we start to absorb all of the images and the logos and become so. This is loosh being taken from this person. This is like a storyline, and it's it's kind of funny. It's funny and sad at the same time. I was like, holy shit, because I've seen some things and we have all seen this stuff. So this is like that where we need to transmute human aggression through by playing with two teams, right? Not watching it. Get your aggression out on the fucking field, because this person does not have the ability to deal with it. If he was, because men need to go out and play sports. So do women, but men especially, because they have this innate, like fire aspect of wanting to fight. And and so do women. I'm not saying, not dismissing this, because women need to do it too. So this is that polarity of love and hate, peace and war, and sports are a tool for that resolution with these pairs of opposites. We can have the physical and these mental, emotional levels that we just witnessed, and that they could actually, Leo actually is group work, and it helps process and teamwork. So during this 8-8 Lionsgate, think of these things. Like, how can we come together as a group and have a team that actually, and actually be more childlike, because that is what this fucking sign is about. Being childlike. When did we get so fucking goddamn boring? I'm sorry, but we're all doing the same damn fucking things we've been doing for the last, 30 years? Sitting down, smoking fucking pot, drinking a fucking beer, and watching sports or whatever it is you're doing? Boring. Okay, this is the opportunity now to actually stop all of that and actually come together as teams and start working, and not working, but playing. Fuck work. That's the legalese system. We need to play. We need to be natives of nations, not fucking citizens of fucking and slaves, because that's what that means. Citizen means slave. And this guy and many of us are slaves by not just our emotions, but the material world. And so this solar plexus, fifth sign of the center, which is Neptune, a soul level, rules Leo, and the Lord of the Waters is ruler of the solar plexus. And if you start to use your, the number 5, which is the mind, these concrete mind and emotions, which is kama or manas, kama manas, which is again going back to the man, or the main, the relationship of your solar plexus, because this is attaching. There's an entity attached to the solar plexus with this man. You can see it, and these matches to these emotions that are expressed when you're actually out on the field, that can be more positive, or it can be negative, like being a watcher. So let's take the steam off, and like on the weekend, right? And watch sports. Why do you think they call it Sunday football or whatever? Sundays. You're taking away your fucking fire, man. Do you hear that? Sunday means the sun. That is Leo. That is your soul. Okay? And you have to stop. Like, I can't fucking say it enough. If you want to get out of this, and we all want to get away from the pedophile fucking like craziness that's happening, and this crazy digital ID, that's the next thing that we all need to manifest the fuck out. Get it the fuck out. Because it's going to take over everything, your entire fucking life. And people are going to rat on you. All those handlers, those hall monitors are going to rat on you. If we have fucking real ID, social credit systems, and you're going to not make it in this world, and you're going to have to come into communities and build something away from that and survive until that system falls. So I'd rather have it just fall now. Like we're seeing like happening with, data centers are starting to stop. Flat cameras are starting to stop. Let's stop this, you guys. Let's go ahead and continue with the next one, or whatever you have to say. It doesn't matter either way.
So what I think is interesting, one, I love his marble floor. And what a little baby.
Mars. That's Mars.
Yeah, and again, that's Babylon, baby action. So caught my
Mm.
eye was the
We can
sun
see
coming through those gateway
the
arches that we
Colosseum.
anyway, those Roman arches. I mean, they're super strong. But even at the beginning of the podcast, we had those arches and you have the sun coming through. And so when you're on the inside of the Colosseum, there's a couple levels, right? And with all the sports, you have the lower level of the sport. You have the either the football players, the soccer players, or the track stars, or you have the people fighting to the death in the Colosseum in ancient Rome with the gladiators. Maybe it's a tiger, maybe it's a giant, maybe you don't know what's going to go on. So that's the lower level. You are the sport. Sometimes there's a ball to play with, right? And then there's the spectators. And because of the shape of it, a lot of these coliseums, they're either round or in the shape of an eye. What they're doing though is capturing that loosh in that shape, but with that arch, right? That is very special to the Colosseum with the sun coming in. So it's like coming in even because they're going to have it at sunset. They're going to have it when everything aligns. And so they're collecting all that loosh. And the higher above people are gambling on it. They're having sex to it. They're killing people to it. And they're capturing it all
Oh God.
in that container.
Yeah.
But that arch again
That's what the Colosseum is the sacrifice of the mother. If we remember what the column means from last week, it's the mother, it's the care bear. They're sacrificing the care bear, which is our true fucking nature. And we need the mother, we need to bring her back and stop fucking feeding these destructive, manipulative. This is why we have hall monitors on this planet that are they call worthless eaters. I'm not offended by that word because it's true. And they created that, or I hate saying they. The consciousness created itself because it hates itself. It doesn't think it's worthy. And so it's destroying itself. It's destroying the mother. It doesn't like being a mother. So, in other words, stop fucking controlling and stop, mothering everyone. Mother yourself first. Oh, I love this one. This is the moon chain. So there's two different. So I was talking about Earth. Christ is Earth. He came from Earth, right? And then there's the moon chain. Now this is going into esoteric, right? Again, going back to esoteric, Alice Bailey, Theosophy. So there's two different chains. These are the chains. And Lindsay's primary point to blending the two soul groups is that the moon chain is more mentally advanced, including like Buddha. Okay. They can see things, they can hear things, they have truth, they can feel the DNA that there's something wrong. I remember this because even though our minds were erased, we can go back to our body and our blood and our breath and the sunlight and the fire that we are within and find it and feel it. That is the mother. She feels things. And this is what a lot of men and women, I think women feel quite a bit actually, but men in particularly are having a hard time feeling. Like that guy, that was emotion. That was not feeling. Okay. He was emotional. There's two different fucking things. Feeling is like letting it pass through without being like, in the Harry Potter film where they're in Devil's Snare. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but if you start moving around just like quicksand, if you move around too much, you're gonna fucking like get stuck in it. But if you just let go, you're gonna fall and pass through the darkness, and that emotion, it's falls to the wayside, and you let go of the telluric realm, which are the second dimension, or which are the elements. Okay, so this earth chain is newer. They are new. Like that guy is definitely a newer soul. Nothing wrong with that or anything like that. I'm just pointing it out. I'm not judging. But they're newer to the individualization of the rapid evolving self, which is also Christ. This includes Christ. So it's argued that we are actually in a unique era where the Christ earth chain is superseding and blending with the Buddha moon chain. And this Lionsgate energy, Sirius, acts as that catalyst that facilitates a higher level of initiation. And initiation is where you are going through the dark night of the soul and you're realizing, you're saying, oh shit, I need to get out of this. Doesn't mean I need to leave my body. It doesn't need to mean to leave this plane. It just means I need to accept who I am and remove the emotions and be more still and respond, because I am being controlled right now. I am not myself. This is some program that I have. And so these two are acting as the synthesis for groups that are aiding the specific blending of this process. And so the Lords of the Flame are sometimes described as rebels, which would be anarchist, Generation X, okay, Generation X, you know, the zillennials and the ones that the boomer Xers that are on the cusp. We are this. We are the rebels. We are the fallen angels in occult literature, like The Secret Doctrine, which is by Madame Blavatsky. So, anarchy is super important here, which means to get your sovereignty and be your own ruler of your emotional and material world. So the rebellion, they rebelled against the natural slow pace of evolution. So they forcefully ignited the mind, the manas, right? Which is in humanity before it was actually ready. So this was kind of like, oh, that was a little bit of a mistake. So we have to go back and kind of like, okay, I need to breathe. I need to take a minute. Oh shit, now I just got in a car wreck and my neck is broken and I got to be in a cast for like 6 months to heal and restructure my whole entire body because I was going too fast and rebelling instead of like actually, being an anarchist, because there's a little bit of a difference. So before, and being initiated too, you have to reach age 40 before you start practicing anything outside of the normal. Your body is not going to be ready for it. And I'm not saying to go out and start doing witchcraft and shit like that and like casting spells. I mean, we already are with our words all the time. Now I'm talking about like, now you can be initiated into what is your body can do and see it and move through and fall through the dark instead of just being dragged in and beat the fuck up and then coming out in the hospital. So this is that will of Leo and Sirius, which mirrors the Gnostic story of the demiurge, which, it imposes order and chaos. And so the trap, however, is the Gnostics see that this material, and Gnostics is actually the telesai. Gnostics just means know-it-all. It's a derogatory. It's supposed to be like offensive, but who cares? Like, know-it-all? Okay, yeah, I know it all. Sure. But this is like that material world prison that was created by the demiurge. And that's the moon chain that I'm showing you. And a lot of the moon chain people, they refuse to come down. And that's why it's believed that there was cloning of and the combining of animal DNA and human DNA and creating different creatures. So, and that it's believed that that's what, the orangutans actually are. That they were, because there weren't enough souls on this planet to live or to play out the karma because the moon chain refused to come, but they're here now.
Yeah, and the moon, the moon chain, but also the Mars chain. Some of us
They all have chains
have some memories.
specifically, but they're different.
Mm-hmm.
Venus is one of the most prominent ones, though, and the moon. But the moon is the Buddhaic one.
Buddhaic moon, Buddhaic. I I couldn't help but notice they kind of look like some moon anal beads, just because.
For those who, for your pleasure, Miriah.
It's
Just for
smaller.
your pleasure. And
And the only reason I know even about anal beads, because I mean, I'm sure I know about them another way.
everybody knows about anal beads, I would
I
think,
had
except for
some.
maybe a 3-year-old.
I let my cat play with them. Somebody gave them to me as like a gay gift, and it was perfect. Anyway,
Oh my God, you guys ever see the plunger that looked like anal beads? Seriously, I was like, oh my God, this is disgusting. Like they literally put anal beads on the end of a plunger, a toilet plunger.
well,
It was, yeah, it was like these plastic balls. I was like,
that's
this has
quite
gotta
smart.
not happen. But I
Because
can guarantee you people were probably using their plunger
it's
in
more of
ways I
like
don't
an
even
anal
want to know.
plunger. Well, and how smart would it would with anal beads that have the beads be moon. You're putting them up your moon. Anyway, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna move away from the Uranus
Sorry,
jokes. We had to
too
throw in some
many.
Uranus jokes.
Let's get back to the solar plexus.
We've got to throw some in there sometimes. So
See that.
anyways, did it pause or is it playing? I don't know. Hopefully it played.
It
Anyways,
played.
it's not playing on my side. Okay, cool. So this is the spark of mind and the solar plexus. This is the chakra for the solar plexus, which if you notice, it is pointing downward, okay, which is the feminine aspect. Interesting, I thought. I was like, but there's also the trilogy. The trilogy's there. So the three, the Jupiter, the Venus, and what's the other one? Jupiter, Venus, Vulcan is what this reminded me of. So going back to the Lords of the Flame and the divine aspect of where humanity arrived, the sign of Leo, had its pouring of energy into the solar system. And this is where the Lion's Gate, going back to that, right? So this fiery mental body, the Manus, is where it corresponds to the mane I was talking about, which is what? The mane of the lion, his hair, his beard, that bestowed the mental principle. Yeah, and men, right? It bestowed its mental principle upon humanity, right? Humanity. So the Leo rules this heart, as we know, which is that Christ consciousness, but it's literally the fiery mental sign, as I was talking about. And it's fusion of will. Remember, will is actually Ray 1, but will is Sophia, and love, wisdom. And Ray 2, which is required to anchor the mind and the heart. So the Lords of the Flame are the agents who originally sparked this fusion. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. And so Neptune and this transmutation, whenever you're ready to move to the next one, of desire of Christ, right? This Leo represents Christ. And that lower aspect, I don't know if we're on the other one. If you are, I can't see it, but that's cool. It's the constellation of Leo. So the process of the lower Leo is driven by this desire of the astral higher Leo and under Neptune. So it converts into this desire and finally into the spiritual will. So this is that Christ connection where the lion of the cosmic will is mastering transmutation. And so this is what Lionsgate is to do is this annual opportunity for humanity to align with Neptune, the Neptunian Christic frequency that is accelerated, to help shift like the self-centeredness to soul-centeredness. So this is our opportunity here, you guys. And Neptune and Mars rule this center, okay, the solar plexus. And this is average for human. Mars is average for humanity, and Neptune for the more advanced. Okay, so Neptune is related to the higher light, which Miriah was talking about, coming down from where? Aquarius. But even though that's ruled by Uranus and Saturn, we're talking about esoterically. Okay, so this is that higher light, that the solar plexus, the higher aspirations, the ideas that transfer from this point or from that point to the energies that are raising up into your heart chakra. And so that center, the dweller that is engaged in that, that is the science of right human relationships, constitute the bodhisattva path of like sacrificing. Like, I gotta sacrifice cheese in order to feel better. I gotta sacrifice wheat in order to feel better, to have a higher frequency, so I'm not emotional, my hormones aren't going wacky. I gotta sacrifice beer. I gotta sacrifice this, blah blah blah. Right? Get rid of the things that that are no longer required, and that communication also with our speech and how they relate to the major keys of the song, of the G clef, right? The God note, the G spiral, right? That's in the Masonic thing that I showed you guys last week. The G in the middle of the two tools that create the up and down, the Star of Solomon. These are the signs of communication that relate to Gemini. It's also Gemini. So it's ruled by, Gemini is ruled esoterically by Venus, Ray 2, which is coming through and is appropriate for another gateway for Sirius. So this is why I thought it was really interesting to see where the constellations were right now, because everything was kind of aligning with this today. I was like, oh shit, and throughout this week. So this unification, and the emotional states of this reflection of larger will and love of Leo is where the secret is hold. And the grace of cosmic mystery is that lion of cosmic will and Sirius. So this is what the Order of Masons have been saying, and it's the Tibetan teachings that the heart admits, that the heart emits. And masonry, amongst many other things, through ritual or ceremony, invokes and anchors some of these forces that are coming from the cosmos to enhance or degrade the plan of the solar logos, right? The experience that we're going through. So we have an opportunity this time, and it will keep going, flowing through until the next one. And in humanity has the opportunity to change and get the scheme of the planetary fourth chain and the fifth chain, because we're in the fifth chain of the earth right now, and to get out of it.
Fourth chain. These words you're going to hear more and more because they're pertain to what she's talking about.
Yeah, well, Sirius is like, it's literally our soul. It's our solar system.
Yeah.
It's our soul. And that's our original state. The demiurge, the Aldebaoth, came in and fucked it up. And so that's Leo in the ego.
Leon.
Let go your ego, please. It's very important. I mean, I get it, you gotta survive, but most of it's just shit. All right. So anyways, next slide when you're ready. So I know I'm not seeing the slides change, but I trust that they're happening.
Yes, I'm on
This
it.
one.
We got the fireworks happening. Ooh, my favorite. I like sparklers.
The spark.
I love
And you got what is the sign right below it? That is Vulcan.
Can't do it.
The Vulcan sign, right? Which is from Star Trek.
You're from a different planet than me.
Sorry, I can't hear you. You're like rubber banding on my end. I apologize.
I'll let you talk.
Okay, well, this is the alchemical marriage of the lungs. You're gonna really dig this, you guys and Miriah. So this is the framework of the marriage, and it's not romantic or a romantic union at all. It's physiological and energetic. So this is some science I'm going to throw at you guys. So Venus, the Gemini Ray 5, okay, that's esoteric rule. She rules the lungs and the principle of the manas in the mind. So they're connected. So she represents the ox, ajin, right? We were talking about this before, the air that we breathe, the life, the spirit, which is the mental mind, and the loving interaction of relationships. And Vulcan is Taurus, which is Ray 1, rules the forge, that is the creative fire. So when you look at that, you know, it's really the first and second houses are very similar because their will, and then the will creates the fire to forge. And so Vulcan, he's there to, and specifically, this is the iron, the hemoglobin of your blood, which is Aries. Okay, but also Taurus. So he represents the carbon dioxide, the waste of the personality or form. So it's the out breath, right? The out breath, and the sparks of the sun, which is the will. So that process of deoxygenated blood, which is Vulcan's work, is carrying the ashes of the experience, the CO2. You know, he's getting rid of it. It's like I breathed it in, it travels through the lungs, and now I'm expelling it and, you know, out, you know, banishing, you know, what was. So this is where Venus, the breath, unites with it, the forge of the heart and lungs that burns away the impurities of the CO2, and the blood returns to the heart, which is the left atrium, and it is enriched with prana and oxygen. So it's really important to do prana work with the sun, sit with it in the morning and gaze at it, because this is where the spirit, which is the oxygen, redeems matter, which purifies it. So, and this is where your endocrine system starts to change. So go out there and start sun gazing. Okay. I don't care if you're tired. I don't care. Stop making the excuses. There's no fucking excuses anymore. Even reasons. I don't give a shit. Take fucking 10 seconds each day, 10 seconds, add another 10 seconds, and add another 10 seconds each day. That's not much time. Set an alarm clock and get out there and just do it. You know what? If you live in the city and you got to get up a little bit higher and you got to set an alarm clock to get up a little earlier, you're going to feel so much better by doing this. And once you do it after 21 days, actually 40 days, 21 days is when the mind will actually have the habit and you'll keep doing it. And then by 40 days, it's going to change your fucking life. You're going to feel like you're on fire, literally. Because you now have that Venus love wisdom that provides the motivation and evolution, but also Vulcan, that willpower that provides the force to build the form. I'm not joking. And this has to do with the lungs. And this is what I've been saying for a long time. The sun and the air, the sun and the air. That's all we need. We don't need to be fucking eating all the goddamn time. We just need sun and air, and maybe eat here and there, you know, which is, I'm not saying to totally go fasting for a long periods of time. You need to practice this before you actually become a breatharian. The longest, you know, I think somebody's gone without food and water is like 300 and some odd days. Okay. So this is what allowed the blood to bind with the oxygen, which Venus provides, and the sun aspect, which Vulcan is associated with. That third ray is that active intelligence. And the first way, which is will again, okay, is that creative aspect. And that's where that spark of Vulcan's forge, where the monadic spark is that animates the blood, making the living vehicle for the soul. And a lot of us are dragged down by the foods, by the movies, by relationships, by 5G, blah, blah, social media, blah, blah. I mean, I can go on and on. If you just remove that shit for fucking a little while and say, fuck it, I'm going to love myself, you're going to feel it and you're going to be like, wow, this is where I'm supposed to be. Fuck all that other shit because I'm no longer sovereign. You know what? And I know that we had this pandemic bullshit. Well, you know what? That was an opportunity for us to take that time, but we didn't know. A lot of us didn't know. I mean, I was doing it before it started. Not necessarily the breath work. I mean, I was doing breath work, but not sun gazing. I didn't do that until after. I don't know if you have anything to say about that, but if not, let's go to the next slide.
But having like some sneezing attacks. Ooh, lion's mane. Yes.
Yeah, I had to bring this up because I found a lion's mane last year in the forest while I was getting a Christmas tree, and it was so delicious.
Yeah, and you're
It was the
haunted by
best thing
it,
on the
right?
planet.
When you eat wild mushrooms, something like a wild's mane or wild I mean oysters or morels, you will remember that day. You will. You'll remember that mushroom.
Yes.
Like, yeah, and it's so good for your brain. So good for your brain. Anyway,
hmm
I can already
I take the powder form, but if I could grow these and eat them, I would eat them all the time because they are so good. Wow, I love the texture of the little hairs. They're not because they don't feel like hairs when you eat them. They feel like little noodles, but not noodles. They're different. They're way better than a wheat noodle. I just loved it. So I wanted to throw that in there because it's a lion's mane. And then let's go to the next one, unless you have some more properties you want to go over that because it does cure cancers and all these other shit.
Well, and it's associated with the moon, um, and your solar plexus. So working together with those, if you have brain damage like I have, even though I just like did a debate, you can reconnect your pathways in your brain, just like mycelium kind of can reconnect to each other from a long ways away or create new pathways. And that's why it kind of looks like a brain. And when you eat it, like it's a really good source of not just medicine but protein. If like you can just grill it up with butter, it's
Mm.
yum.
You don't need much else than that. Maybe some garlic, and some like coconut aminos. Oh my god. Amazing. The best thing on the planet, I have to say. I would eat it all the time if I had access to it.
Well, and then maybe you just start
Okay.
growing. We all should.
Start growing them, yes. I was like, how do I start growing these? Like Paul Stamets does. Yeah, so whenever you're ready for the next one, I was thinking of the lion's mane on the mane, the man. And I was thinking of hairstyles and beards. And I came up with this, and I saw this funny looking guy in the middle. But hey, he's rocking it. He's doing it. He's got his mane going on. Mariah's got her mane going on.
That's
and
why, because I got.
so I should have put some women in there, but I just, I was thinking of man because the word manus and mason and all that. And then I was thinking of the distinction of like the lords of the flame and Sirius, how the manus was brought to the mind, right? Because this is where the mane is on the face and the head. And this is where it represents the fiery mental body, or our aurora, right? The pride of the lion, the mental pride, the separated individual. This is why we like to do our different hairdos and try to, look, fancy. You got those, what do you call those guys that have their hair man buns and their beards? It's more egoic than
Trolls,
anything, but they're trying.
the little troll dolls
Oh
with
yeah,
the
the little
fuzzy,
it's totally
little
totally a
fuzzy
troll doll.
hair, carrot top.
Yeah. You got like Krusty the Clown. He's got a crazy little hairdo
Well,
going on
Sideshow
there.
Bob and
Um, Sideshow Bob, yeah. So this is like a part of it is like this mental body of the Lionsgate where humanity, it's taming the beast. You can tell like maybe if you have somebody that has hair that's all wild and crazy, they're gonna be a little bit out of control. But the evolved, more benevolent king, which is the Raja yogi, that serves humanity, like maybe Thor, I mean, Thor, he had to go through the initiation process too, right, Miriah? He was like this tyrant, and then he finally grew the fuck up. Like his dad was not gonna, Odin was like, nope, you're not gonna rule until you get your shit together. And so this is, this association to the planetary logos of the first ray, where the fire of the mind is like identified with the Syrian lion. So maybe it's time for a new hairdo. Maybe it's time to grow your hair out. Maybe to get your cosmic will going on, because the correlation of like Thor's energy is compatible to the Lion's Gate, even though the goat is his totem animal. I saw him more as a lion.
Well, there's the
and
Lyrans, right? And the Lyrans have spent time over by Arcturus and the area of the zodiac sky, I guess, above Virgo and Libra over there. Like our North Stars have been always like in that area where Vega is Vegas.
Mhm.
And Lyran. So the Lyrans, the lion entities, I've communicated with them, and I believe that they are from Lyra, but I think that they have spent time in these other places, including Orion. So you see a lot of these correlations. So Syria, Sirius. How about Lyran, Libya? You'll start seeing a lot of these countries, especially
Librarian, the
are
sexy librarian with glasses
that's right.
that you see in many, many different kinds of shows or movies.
I love libraries, but I'm too loud to be a librarian. But then there's also the white lions and of council, and these are hypothetical, but I know that they're these entities.
Well, I thought of Thor's hammer too, because Thor's hammer is like the will. So I was like, well, shit, he's kind of like part of Sophia in a way.
Well, and Hercules,
but also,
look where Hercules
yeah,
is in the zodiac. It's up by where Andromeda is, and right. So these
right,
stories trickle down because they're in each other's
yeah,
stories.
because he has his hair, same thing with
And
the
that
pillars,
is
right?
Como Bernays. They cut off her hair, and they're over in that
Right.
same part of the zodiac sky. So besides our zodiac cycle, there's all these other constellations outside of them, and they do travel together. And there's just like another ring above them and above them and above them, just like the archangels are above the regular angels, and it's kind of like how that goes too. That's why I want to go see the Sistine Chapel someday. I think it would be a really sweet representation of that.
I love it. Well, I was thinking too, like, what was it? That Thor's hammer also is representative to to Vulcan in a way, because Vulcan is the one, he has an anvil, right? And he's pounding the spark. So I was like, this is interesting. So this is a part of the main, and it's all correlated with each other. It doesn't mean that he's necessarily Leo, but the Vulcan, is a part of it, Neptunian, because of the trident.
And any of the Norski, they always have a hammer. Because even with
Right,
the constellations, sometimes they're depicted of having different weapons. Just like Hercules, some people think he has a bow and arrow.
Well, they're tools, they're not necessarily a weapon. They can be a tool.
Yeah, and also what their culture associated it with when they're seeing.
It's just like a wand, where a wand could be a tool or it can be a weapon. It can wedge things out of, like, it can help lift things up, or it can be to knock yourself down. And then the next slide is just like showing you the flame of Mars and Venus. I had talked about Neptune. I didn't throw Neptune in here, but this is that solar plexus, Mars, Venus plexus, the desire and the affair and the emotion of that, mixing together with the flame. This is like that work that we turn our selfish desires into selfless aspirations. And then the next one is where we take Venus and Neptune, which is the heart yajna, and the Neptune in the soul, the ruler of Leo, that heart, which is that hierarchical related to Aquarius that Miriah was talking about earlier, and how the connection to Venus and Neptune are this elevation to love, in the spiritual, our ideas, to love our ideas, to love other people and their ideas, to be more empathetic, to be more heart-centered. So Venus and Neptune are like the one's the higher octave and one is the lower octave, and Venus is that lower octave. So we want to have that vision and that idealism, that synthesis with that breath, because remember, Venus is the esoteric ruler of Gemini. And so it's that bridge, by that conscious breathing, that life energy that lifts the solar plexus and up and out, right? From Mars for your the first chakra, all the way up in, purifying the lungs, which is going into your heart center, and then anchoring, that heart into the Neptunian love will, which is up and out of the head, and eventually reaches the Ajna vision. So this is where that chemical marriage from Venus and Vulcan to the continuous alchemical event, that the breath that we take and the will of like the ancestors, the gnome, the monad outside of or inside the pleroma meets the love in the God and the Venus oxygen in the spark that makes the sustainability that evolves from human form, and it mirrors into a spiritual like aspect of like, this is what I prefer to have, this is what I see, and I'm going to live it. And this is the time to do it, you guys. So Vulcan is the body, which is the soul, and Venus is that love that it helps that direction in the breath to move our spirit in the way we want. And I wish you the best of luck with all of it, because it's fucking really hard to get to that point. But once you get initiated from your 40s, your Uranus opposition to Uranus to your Chiron, it gets easier if you've done the fucking work, at least mentally and spiritually. Sometimes you may just be so still that you're just like, who cares anymore? I'm just ready to go. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because once you figured it out, you're just like, Because isn't that what, not Manly P. Hall, but, oh God, not the mushroom dude, philosopher. Him and his wife ended up drinking themselves to death. He's one of the great speakers, philosophers of like the 70s. I can't think of his name right now, but they just decided to.
What? Wait.
Yes, Alan Watts. Thank you. Yep. They transcended so high, they're just like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Who cares?
No, we're definitely septic to medicating ourselves, because it's hard to live in a reality where no one else sees what you see.
Yeah, and that could be a part of, the issue is like you start to get so high up that you're just like, oh fuck, And you might go a little mental, so be careful. You might lose yourself in the process. It's not easy. So that's why I say don't cast spells. Not a good idea. Just go into your heart center and your breath and move through it. But this concludes it, everybody. This concludes I think that was a pretty fucking awesome 8/8 special. Miriah and I fucking kicked ass.
Leon?
It was not like all the other astrologers out there. I was like, oh, they're so boring.
Well, and if anybody is still listening, kudos to you. The climax of the 8/8 will be on August 8th here, just on Saturday. So you can tap into that energy however you'd like to. But, just beware. That's why they're always like trying to also harvest your loosh. And it's connecting. Go within, connect with your heart. And we just had that huge basket. We are Dorothy on a brand new adventure. So open your heart to new avenues, new ventures. but it must be with true authenticity. All the fake will melt away. You can't fake your way into this South Node Leo with North Node Aquarius. You have to, because you're going towards an angelic.
Yeah, go
from
towards your North Node.
Leo.
If you
So
don't
you
know
have
your
to
chart, figure it out.
Yeah, go
I
to
know
that.
that I saw Anna in here. I don't know if she's still here, but I did try calling her. But the North Node is where you need to go. Miriah's right about that. And
Yeah,
it's what you haven't done or what you haven't practiced, what you need more practice with and to master.
my voice.
Well, thank you everybody for hanging out. Next week we got the solar, or is it the solar eclipse? Yes, right? So we're gonna go into the solar eclipse, and we're gonna talk about that and maybe a few other things. It's a big one. It's gonna be right over Egypt,
And
full,
Spain.
which is fucking really, and Spain, which is interesting because Spain, oh man, the Sephardic Jews come from Spain that landed in the United States.
New Year. You know?
Yeah, so this is gonna be interesting. Yeah, the new year, interesting that this is happening, right? So I would even say to take some of the old things like wisdom of like medicines, you know, get those old things back and bring it into the new and advance them. So, like, where the fuck are those med beds already, you guys? Come on, enough of this shit. I'm done hearing about it. Just fucking do it already. Anyways, well, thank you all for hanging out. My name is Nova, and I've been hanging out with Miriah. And you've been listening to Poppy's for Project. We get together each Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern. Check your calendars for next week. We will be on the 12th on the eclipse, which we might be floating around in space. I don't know, because there is a NASA prophetizing of like we're going to be losing gravity. So who knows what's going to happen? Anyways, so much love to everyone, and we'll see you next week on August 12th. Ciao, ciao. Heavy metal and rock and roll and love.
Have a great hope night every night, everybody, and every night.